Warning. The following show is likely to switch topics faster than a Kardashian switches NBA players in bed. Caution is advised. We surveyed 100 people. Actually, no, just some dudes off the street about JB. And here are the top answers. Number 1, JB, I love JB. Did I say that right? Do I still get my Chick-fil-A gift card? Number 2, who? Number 3, I know JB. He don't know shit. And now he's got a podcast? This is What the Hell Do I Know with JB. JB, your friendly late-stage midlife husband, dad, and self-diagnosed ADHD connoisseur. This is all about candid conversation with friends, colleagues, and professionals, unpacking life's lessons and having a damn fun time doing it. And hey, sometimes we're going to veer off topic. But isn't that what makes life interesting? Let's talk about taking the good parts and leaving the bad. Because life's too short for unnecessary baggage. This is What the Hell Do I Know with JB. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right. All right. We are back again, baby. It's so good to be back again. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate everyone that checks into these jabronis. We had some technical difficulties before we got going this morning. In fact, we always say we're a $10 podcast. Juice already downgraded us before we even started to an $8 podcast
for sure.
We might be $4.50.
It's going to be a quarter by the time we're done today. We don't even know.
With inflation, we're like $6.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
It comes back up. But hey, we really do appreciate all your comments, your the subscribes, the follows, the tags, everything that's happening. It's always just amazing when I think about it, and it's really great that you're on this journey with us. Yesterday we were over at your house. We got to watch the Indiana Hoosiers.
Boo.
That's right. We will introduce our guest. We will introduce our guest in a second. We'll introduce our guest in a second. You'll know why. But we were over at your house, the Indiana Hoosiers. We were watching the Hoosiers beat up on the Washington Huskies. Yeah. And what was cool about that is there's a journey because you've Georgia's, by the way, Georgia's on a bye week, so the Dogs they've taking their time, recuperating. Hopefully we'll have a full team
from that Texas beatdown.
Texas beatdown. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to get into some football today because we've got a great guest for you. You see him over here, Randy Fichtner. We're super excited to have you here, but we're going to get into your background. But, while we were over at your house, you have 2 dogs. You have the Lily Bell, and then you have this Ellie. Is it Ellie?
She's a demon.
Demon dog. Like, it's crazy. She's constantly antagonizing your dog,
the Labrador
Retriever.
She's a golden doodle mini,
but so she thinks she's huge.
She thinks she's
and on this journey together as they're trying to figure out life, you can watch them, and in the backyard they are running around. She is chasing Lily around, and I just feel so bad for Lily. And then she kind of gets back at her and calms that little dog down. And then at some point they started sniffing each other's butts.
Well, that's what a dog does. Isn't that what separates us?
So I just want to, again, I thank you so much for all of y'all being on the journey together. Maybe it's after you've done 2 or 3 episodes. Maybe it's like we kind of snipped each other's butts and we feel like we know a little each other.
What in the world are you saying?
Juice is going like, where did this go? I didn't know. He said, I didn't know where this would go.
Where is that going?
I came over here for this, dude. What the hell?
Randy's never coming back.
Yeah, his dog escaped.
Hey, he's been in NFL locker rooms. He's been in NFL locker rooms. He's been in college locker rooms. He's been in them all.
There was a lot of jock sniffing.
Oh, my goodness.
Not by me.
Yeah. That's right.
That's so good. And on that note, we will introduce our drink of the day.
Oh yeah,
Chicken Cock's going to be really happy with us here. So we've got the Mizunara. Their Mizunara. This is their special edition for this year. They took their whiskey, American aged whiskey, the oldest whiskey in America, 1856. Took chicken cock whiskey and aged it in Mizunara oak, Japanese oak, which is really kind of a new thing.
That's
so
like
I'm
a
super.
collab.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Chicken Cock Whiskey, we're so thankful for their sponsorship. Chicken Cock Whiskey from the days when you could name your whiskey Chicken Cock. So, a legacy that dates back to 1856 in Paris, Kentucky, a town tucked away in the heart of Bourbon County. So, so cheers to that.
Cheers.
Randy, I know sticking with this Diet Dr. Pepper.
some.
We're good. Cheers. And
Cheers it
let's
up.
try some of that.
I'm excited. I finally
That's
came in
great.
to try it.
Hey,
yeah.
listen, as always, drink only if you are 21 and older, and drink responsibly. So that was, man, that's good stuff, right?
It is good.
All right, that is
That
good.
is. That's
I've yet to have
Looks good.
anything bad from the
they're-
Mizunara.
I love
Yes,
that bottle.
it's
too.
great
It's
stuff.
So pretty.
Absolutely great stuff. But yes, our guest today, Randy Fichtner. Is that Fichtner?
That's actually Fichtner. It's very
Fichtner.
German.
I've never known how to
Fichtner.
say. How to say it again?
Be like your feet. F-E-E-T.
Fichtner.
Fichtner, okay.
Okay, Fichtner. All
Jason's
right.
gotten every
spelled
name
that way,
wrong on
but-
this podcast so
He's
far.
got. Here's my
He's
name.
gotten every
I've
name
heard
wrong.
it. I've heard it every different kind.
Fichtner. Well, I'm dominating because I don't know.
Fichtner.
I know
Fichtner.
it. I know how to say
Well,
it.
I'll get this one right. Fichtner.
I would have guessed it. I would have said it
Fichtner's
wrong
easy.
also.
I mean, for this episode and this episode only, I'm getting Randy Fichtner's name right.
Yeah, you
There's
should get
the
it now.
episode and this episode only.
Nobody gets coach's
So,
name right.
I know it. Got coach. We can go coach. So former offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a Super Bowl winner.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And unfortunately, loser.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that side's we don't like talk about
Yeah,
that.
we
But
hit
losses,
one.
you learn from your losses,
Learn
right?
a lot, yeah.
100%. So I read it, but I read in honor of you being here. I read a story about you in training camp where some of the guys would call you Chef Randy.
Oh, wow.
Is that right? Chef Randy. And you would have stuff in your office at St. Vincent. Is it a St. Vincent where?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would have stuff, and everybody would come by. And I think it was either Roethlisberger or maybe Butler that one of them was quoted in this article as saying Chef Randy could sure make some great chocolate chip cookies.
Well,
All right.
I see you.
so
have
we
your chocolate
my
chip
wife
cookies.
made
yeah.
my
They
wife
look
made,
better than the ones I made. And I got to tell you remember the old Little Debbie cookers? Like,
Yes.
you know, the ones
Yeah.
that the girls, the little
Yeah,
your
yeah.
daughters would
Like the
use?
Easy
Yes.
Bake Oven
Easy Bake.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, easy
That's
bake oven.
darn near how I made that.
with a
down
light
there.
bulb.
That's about all I had.
That
We were in a dorm room.
Yeah.
I had a refrigerator and microwave.
Foreman grill, right? You had a
That
George
was I
Foreman
had
grill?
the Foreman grill.
Okay, okay.
That was always fun.
Yeah.
And then microwave. We make cookies in microwaves but yeah, we had a little what we would call Randy's bar.
Yeah.
And it was for staff and selected others.
Yeah.
And those selected others end up being like Ben Roethlisberger,
Right.
Heinz Ward.
Yeah.
It was all the more
Kind of elite
experienced
leadership, veterans.
leadership
Yep.
players on the team. You know,
Yeah.
the ones that have already been out. At
Right.
night when you get that free time during training camp, they've already been there, done that.
They just come in
So
and hang
now
out.
they just
then,
rather
yeah.
come up,
Hang with the
maybe have a
coaches.
beer and watch a game on TV.
Right,
As
right.
opposed to going out into town.
They learned their lesson. They didn't need to be on the news, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing good happens
That's
after
great.
midnight.
So we made chocolate chip cookies in honor of you being here
Wow.
and heard this story of Chef Randy.
That is so cool.
So that's awesome. So
is
we'll
so
have
cool.
to dig into those later. But now it's our section for new news. New news. Does anybody have any new news? We just talked about IU still undefeated.
I'll keep going
Yeah.
with it. There's something about, and we'll get into it with Randy. Something about being focused on a process different than focused on a result.
No,
So I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go philosophy right now. But
Here we go.
In order to change something, it drastically has to change. A culture has to change. But something's.
You think
happened
that can
with
happen in
Indiana
one
football.
season?
Right? Does this make
Yeah.
sense? In
Wow.
one season, Indiana is the losingest program in Division I football history. Lost more games than any other.
I didn't know
I mean,
that.
there's got to
That's
be one
crazy.
out there worse, right?
No,
You think so?
Google it.
I'm gonna
Google me is what I said.
Google me.
All right,
Google me.
let's see.
But it's unbelievable that Indiana has lost that much, but in just 1 year, undefeated and beating programs that are historically really, really good. So, they haven't played Ohio State yet, so let's come back
Right.
to that. But in new news, hey, man, you can have a program that's 100 years horrible in 1 year. But isn't that what fans are? They're fanatics. They ride that wave,
Yeah.
and then one day you're there.
No. I mean, it's nice to
found it.
see it as far as a. Is that true?
Indiana
Yeah.
University holds the record for most losses in college football history. They've reached
Wow.
700
I would've lost
all-time
You'd
losses.
vouch for that.
I
right?
would have lost that.
You would have lost that.
Now, I
No, you-
like
you-
that. only
Coming
because
from
of the
my
Purdue history.
Yeah, you're
He's a
Purdue
Purdue
history.
guy.
Right.
Randy's
But-
a Purdue.
but
the
I
East
don't
Coast
wish
deep
that on
history,
anybody.
Purdue, right? Yeah. He's deep history Purdue though.
Yeah,
because your dad played at Purdue.
He did.
Correct?
He did.
You played out of high school at Ohio, but you decided to go to Purdue where your dad played.
Yep.
Were you defensive backs? Is that what I saw?
I was a defensive back.
Okay.
I played offense. I was
Okay.
quarterback, running back.
So you did a little bit of everything. at
When
Purdue.
I went to Purdue, I thought I was actually going to be on offense. When I showed up and had a staff meeting, I'll never forget. We walked in. My mom, was dropping me off, and
Sure.
they welcomed me. All the coach came up, shook my hand, and the defensive coordinator came over and said, "Welcome aboard. Can't wait to coach you." I'm like, "Oh, I'm playing defense." So I found out that day I was playing defense.
Got him. Is that kind of like the military? Hey, you're going to jump out of airplanes, and you're going to go over here now.
It was a great experience, and we had some really
That's
good players at the time. Rob Woodson, Chris Dishman, some of these guys, they played a long time in the NFL, some of the best at their position. So
Sure.
the group that I was put in with, excellent athletes, excellent guys.
What a great growth ability to learn from people, that discipline, that dedicated, and to kind of get some of that. And obviously you were as well. And so seeing that and hearing that. And your dad, though, he played quarterback at Purdue, and he went on to play in the NFL as well, didn't he?
He played defense in the NFL,
Yeah,
He did the opposite.
So he did the opposite. He went defensive back in the NFL.
He was all offense, and back then they had a 2 platoon, so you had to play some defense.
Yeah.
So they had seen him on defense. Paul Brown was the head coach of Cleveland.
Okay.
That season, my dad's senior year, he broke his clavicle in the Notre Dame game. They said it was something like a 6 to 8 week injury, but he's got, he's a quarterback.
Right.
You might have to throw the ball some. Back then, they did.
They did.
I mean, he did
Like 10 times a game, probably, or
now,
something. Yeah.
Years later, with Len Dawson and Bob Greasy and all the, Drew Brees, I mean, that was all passing.
Right.
But so they saw the athleticism. What they saw though was, and Paul Brown made this comment, and his son Mike used to tell me this story when I was in Pittsburgh playing Cincinnati. Your dad was drafted because of how he came back from injury. So a 6 to 8 week injury turned out to be 2 weeks, and he was back playing, and in 4 weeks he was back playing quarterback. So he made it back, showed those type of intangible things that Paul Brown cared about. Those would be the things that we would talk about later if we're talking about Pittsburgh and why they're different.
Yeah.
Well, they believe in those intangibles.
Yeah,
they evaluate them and have a way to evaluate them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool.
You're talking about process and all that.
Yeah.
Steelers don't do it any better than anyone.
Right.
They're
the most.
I
Are they the
agree.
most champions in the NFL now? Is
They got
still
6,
are,
yeah.
They still are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they still are.
That's insane.
Can we see that ring for the camera?
But their win percentage.
Let's see
You
that
see this,
Super Bowl
boys?
ring. Look
You
at that
see this
Super Bowl
thing?
ring.
Nice.
Look at
There,
this.
we are right there. Yeah, absolutely. Look at that Super Bowl ring. That's awesome. Oh, we're past that thing around. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Well, so his dad also won a Super Bowl in '64.
Did your dad win a Super Bowl as well?
Yes.
Played with Jim Brown,
it was
dude.
The World Championships then. It wasn't until 60, I believe, was 67, I believe, or 66.
64 played with.
He was.
my word.
It was a World Championship, and they beat Baltimore, Johnny Unitas.
John beat Johnny Unitas. He played with Jim Brown. I was looking at that. I was like, that's crazy.
That is beautiful.
That is an amazing.
We were talking
That's
before
beautiful.
the show how hard it is
That's
to
beautiful.
get your name on something like that.
Yeah.
You don't fall into something like this. This is a lifetime of work.
100%.
Oh yeah.
When they
And
give
so
out
many
Super Bowl rings, do they give them out to like how far along in the organization do you know of that it goes down?
I have heard that it doesn't go down far past the coaches.
Okay.
Your staff.
Right.
So now you're talking about strength staff.
Okay,
You're talking
right.
about equipment staff.
Right.
And you're talking about training staff.
Okay.
So all that staff.
So if somebody was doing, let's say, because you got a guy that's doing the laundry, right? The equipment manager. Would that equipment manager get a ring? You think?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I don't
Because that's an
know if
important integral part, right?
I think they have different
Different rings.
levels of
Yeah,
rings.
yeah.
But
That's
it's
what I
the
would guess.
same. I know all the secretaries and all the wives got the very same top.
Okay.
Jennifer has that pendant.
Very cool.
So it's
very
a pendant
cool.
of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's very
That
cool.
makes sense.
That's very cool.
Really thoughtful.
So at some point, you
families
don't know
along-
that the ring may not have like their name and
Correct.
things of that nature on it, but it
It
may
may-
get some sort of a ring.
It may not be as big. It may
Yeah.
it may not be diamond. It may be cubic
Sure.
zirconia.
Right.
I don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
But I do know that I know the Rooneys want to take care of everybody in the house.
Yeah.
and
But you always see like Pawn Stars or something like that on TV where you'll see somebody pawn a Super Bowl ring, but then you go in, you find out it was like the the maintenance manager got a ring, and then you look at it, and it's not quite the exact same as a player or coach's ring.
Yes.
That feels like the real thing. I'm not going to lie.
No,
That feels like a pound of gold.
It was pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy.
That's like a pound of
It
gold.
was interesting, and you mentioned this, but when we actually had the ring ceremony, my dad was there for the ring ceremony.
Cool.
And we had it in back then it was Heinz Field, and they have big conference rooms and really some neat gathering rooms. And we put, I don't know how many people were in there. It was awesome. He was there at the ceremony, and he had his championship ring. Now it looks like a class ring.
Yeah, say
for your pinky. When I was 170 pounds. I mean, back when my finger was probably that big.
Right.
It is tiny.
Right.
And he put it there next to it, and it was just, and I saw the gleam. You could just see the proud moment that he had.
Oh,
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool. Because,
that's very cool.
I didn't get to play professionally because I wasn't good enough.
Sure.
I mean, it weeds itself out.
Yeah, right.
Big Ten football is Big
Right.
Ten football.
Right.
And then from there, the whole process begins that you're talking about, the draft evaluation, and if you're going to have a chance to move on.
That's right.
And some do, and a lot don't.
Right.
And I was one of the ones that didn't. So I didn't waste time, and Bo Schembechler gave me a great opportunity to come to Michigan.
And, right.
And then I was always on offense.
You're always on offense. At that point
I
on,
was
you were
gonna ask you,
offense.
but how a defensive-minded guy became an offensive coach?
I don't know if it
Growing up,
I
you
always
played both
felt
ways.
comfortable. Yeah, but
and you had a dad that played football, so you obviously talked about football a lot.
Football was kind of the family business.
Sure.
For sure. My brother played at Michigan actually when I was coaching there, so we recruited him there.
Very cool.
Which was kind of cool.
That's
He's the one that turned Purdue down.
Ah.
He's the only one in the family because I got sisters, uncles. I got a lot of people. He didn't go to Indiana. He's smart because he went with Bo Schembechler.
He's smart because he stayed out of the whole.
He got a couple
Brady,
Big Ten championships.
You bringing up the hot tubs or what? Are we going to go down this road?
Meanwhile,
Huh? He maybe pull up some hot tub
talking
meme.
about championship teams, we did just come back from a trip. B, you had a different hat on that time. We came back from a trip. So Brandon, when I moved down here, he's an IU basketball fan. So the University of Georgia basketball team's not great. So I'll adopt IU basketball. And then, although we did have the Anthony, who Ant-Man they call him. He went. He's playing.
Anthony Edwards pretty
Anthony
good.
Edwards
Georgia.
pretty good. He's pretty
for a one and done dude.
He's pretty good.
He may have a future.
He's pretty good
at basketball.
So we occasionally can put out a really really good player, and we have a lot of good players that come from the state, don't necessarily go to the University of Georgia.
That's right.
But so I adopted kind of IU basketball, and I keep telling Brandon adopted the University of Georgia football, and I told him he's gotten the better end of the deal. I've given him 2 natties so far.
Yes,
we
have.
keep going into national. Talking about national championship, we went into Texas, and I think Kirby Smart had decided that he was tired of people saying that Georgia wasn't Georgia anymore. I mean, he just had everybody ready to go. You could feel it when we got to the stadium.
Oh, my gosh.
And, so many people have asked us since we've gotten back, like, oh, what about the debacle on the field and all these kids throwing water bottles? I mean, it was weird. And when you're in the moment, you don't really know what's going on in the stadium as a fan. We could tell they placed the ball and called a pass interference play. We could tell that was pulled back. We were pretty angry, but we were also in the minority.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it was a bad call. It was, but that was crazy.
But that was crazy.
Yeah,
but outside, I would say what I want to say about that is to all of my Texas fans listening to this or friends from Texas. Man, they were the most gracious losers I've ever met.
Good people.
I mean,
Texas.
great people. We had a guy.
Austin
We had
great.
rented like a tailgate deal, and it had a number on it, and there's all these different numbered tailgates around there. But we could not find it, and this Texas fan saw us looking, came and grabbed us. He took us, found us. He said, "Here's your tent. Here's your park."
And we're all in red, Georgia.
And we're in. I mean, I had red pants on. I mean, we were in Georgia garb. And he came back and checked on us 3 times. I finally said, "Hey, do you work here?" And he goes, "No, I'm just a fan. My tailgate's over here." The graciousness and the welcoming feeling we had from people from Texas was so incredible. In fact, I was kind of like, welcome to the SEC, because it's not as nice as most other places.
Y'all from Texas are nicer.
They'll learn.
They're all finding that out.
They'll learn.
Yeah, it's a whole different game.
SEC's a
They'll
different
learn.
game.
But that was quite the stadium. 100,000 people in the stadium. It was electric.
Incredible.
And it was great. And, of course, it's always incredible when you go on the road with your team and then they play at the ability you believe they can play.
At that
I'm
level.
not coaching. I'm not in it. You never know, but the coaches know. And so I know that has to be gratifying for a coach when you show up and your players play to the level that you know they can play it, right?
It's like when you get in the locker room, you actually can take a breath and say, wow, what you prepared them for, we did.
Right.
And because, you do it all the time.
Right.
It isn't like 1 week we do it less or more.
Right.
We do it we try and be as consistent as possible. And the information that we give them, the information they give back to us, and all the preparation, you just like to see it at the end of the week result into an effort that looks like you've coached them, they've listened, and everyone's bought in.
And you know their
And then
talent, right? You know they can do it. You know they're capable of doing it, right?
They wouldn't be there.
That's
if they
right.
weren't.
That's
a
right.
lot of times emotions overtake the talent, though.
Oh,
they just
that's right.
get caught up in
You're
the moment.
totally right.
That's probably the hardest part to control is that.
There's
keeping your cool.
as a coach as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
The emotion's got to be high.
Kirby was pretty pissed. There was 200,000 water bottles on the field.
Yeah, well, and you've got player
It set a
safety.
precedent,
Some of that
dude. It
those
set a
water bottles
precedent.
don't travel 40 yards from the stands without something in it.
Yeah.
As soon as they do it, they're like, there goes my drink. Oh, no.
Yeah, that was like $5
What did
water
I
bottle.
do?
Out of my
That's
hand.
right. Well, those students, boy, they gave them a 250. When the interesting thing is, I read from I guess it was the dean or whatnot at the University of Texas, and he wrote this. I thought it was an incredible letter, and it was saying this is our first season. The SEC is knowing who we are, and we built a reputation of, and I experienced it again, a reputation of hospitality,
Great.
a reputation of good sportsmanship, and all this over all these years, and it can be ruined in one incident.
Right.
And I think sometimes, the young people, the young people that are out there listening, I think that's something you have to be mindful of. You're going to build a reputation over life, but you can have one incident that can define you. It doesn't have to. You can still come back from bad things. But I think if you're just mindful of that, what you're building, and not try to erode that with one bad episode, and so it can.
Very
And
important.
Texas will come back from that. They'll be fine. Those fans, they have
That's a
good
playoff team.
They
They're
built
still
enough-
gonna be the playoff.
well, I'm just saying the
Well, I know
reputation is not going to take a
Vanderbilt,
big sting for it.
Vanderbilt gave them all they could handle yesterday.
We're all there. We're all there. So, Randy, it is now time to play What the Hell Do I Know with Randy Fichtner.
Okay.
So we're gonna put the clock on.
Oh, no.
And 7 questions, rapid succession. You can pass if you need to pass. No problem.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm putting the clock on. And number 1, as a Boilermaker, would you like to see the Indiana University Hoosiers lose this season?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
100%.
Number two. If you wanted to have a building engineered, would you want it to be from a graduate from the Indiana University Hoosiers, or would you want this building to be engineered by the Purdue Boilermakers?
West Lafayette, Indiana, baby.
Yeah, I got to go with that one.
Yeah, no doubt.
Number three. Last question. Number 3 on this topic. Number 3, favorite mascot, Hoosier or Boilermaker?
Boilermaker.
Absolutely.
Why do you keep asking these obvious questions?
Number 4. Look, these are just the 7 questions. Number 4, favorite place to catch a sunset.
Sandestin.
Absolutely, it's so good, man. This down here on this coast for sure. Number 5, top 3 favorite players to coach. Maybe hard if you did a few over. I'd be over.
Isaac Bruce.
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
Oh, man, I'm going to get in trouble for this.
You can do 4.
D'Angelo Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Memphis, going back to Memphis.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about him.
It's good.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Santonio Holmes?
Hines Ward.
Ward, yeah.
Hines, my boy Hines.
Love Hines.
My boy Hines.
Santonio,
I like it.
That's really hard.
That's a hard one. Yeah. No, I know. I know. You got a couple right there for sure.
You and Ben made a good run, though.
100%.
cow.
100%. Is there a play you've called? Is there a play that you have called that you wish you could take it back?
Yes. Yeah, we had it was against Baltimore. We actually had a little gimmick trick play. Kind of like a little end around type, deal. And, we were in tight. A little too tight probably for the play.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was, you just felt good at the time to do it. Everyone was saying, hey, don't forget it.
Yeah.
I got it in my ear. And when it came up, it was, we were 1st and 9 from the 9. Called it. Next thing you know, the ball's popped around. It's fumbled. They get the ball. And we end up losing the game by 3. Now, Baltimore, generally, you're going to lose by 3. where you're going to
win by 3.
And
that was kind of the play.
Yeah,
and it still sticks out for you.
Oh no, I got a few of those that just stick out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, there's a lot of great ones, and there was a lot of fun ones. But it's funny as a coach, you always see. We probably spend more time thinking about those negative ones.
Yeah.
Oh, for
I
sure.
agree.
Actually thinking about the really positive
I agree.
ones.
Well, here you go. So, best play you have ever been a part of?
Best play by far was the Super Bowl play in Tampa. Bruce Arians basically flipped the call. Santonio Holmes had a chance to catch this flag cut on the left side, if you go back and watch the tape.
Yep.
And he dropped it. And he'll tell you he dropped it. That was an easier catch for him to make. The very next play, BA basically just flipped the call, told Hines, line it outside, short motion, and so they adjusted. No big deal. But so you saw it as a defense a little differently than it was on the other side. We still made a stack, and we end up flooding that zone, and Santonio
right into the corner.
It was awesome. I was down on the right side. My family was all in that end zone, right underneath the boat, the ship.
Yep.
Right. I mean, where that happened.
So I read an article.
And you're like,
I read an article that said during practice that you told San Antonio Holmes to drop that ball.
No.
To not catch the pass?
To make it more spectacular, because you know what? It pays in the end to do that.
Is that right?
No.
No, he said he was dropping it, and sometimes it was getting fumbled or intercepted when you guys were playing. Like he said, the article I read said you guys actually did that pass like at the end of every practice leading up to the Super Bowl.
We did, because it was part of my drills working sideline techniques.
Okay.
So one of the things, and what he's talking about, is I got Coach Tomlin walked in to my office maybe in the summer, just before we took off to come to Sandestin and get our time off.
Yeah.
Well, it was one of those little floppies disc, and it
Oh my goodness!
Old school floppies.
It had the NFL films on it, and it was called Toe Tappers, the best of.
The best of toe tappers.
So they had the best of the toe tappers. So here's what we did. This is my second year coaching this group. So we go to training camp. I have that tape in my hand. Well, Coach Tomlin and the whole staff gets a chance to welcome everyone day number 1 that night. There's a lot of administration stuff has to be done.
Right.
They're talking. You got the trainers talking. They're talking about their rules. A lot of stuff that's going to go on during training camp.
Right.
So you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm going to get whatever meeting time when this meeting breaks. That's all I'm going to get for the night. But they're responsible for 2 practices tomorrow, and I got a bunch of rookies in there. And they don't know what the heck they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, gosh, I gotta coach these guys when we're done here, and there's not going to be much time. But I want to show them this tape. And instead of burdening them that night with just a bunch of football and you got to know this and that, I just slipped the tape in. And they watched the best toe tap that was actually from, and Lynn Swan was on there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a bunch of great receivers throughout time that were on that. It was awesome. But you know what? That's how our season ended.
Yep, that is how the season
with
ended.
The best toe tap
of all
to win a
time.
game.
In fact,
Can
let's see
we
if we
see
can watch this. And those
Watch
of you,
this can you tell me, Randy, what is the call here?
Juice, here we can plug.
And we'll probably get in trouble with NFL.
No. I think this was. I think it was.
But what's the call? Like, I don't understand.
No, this is YouTube. This is on YouTube. We can get this on
okay.
YouTube. If you're watching this show, you're going to be able to see this play. If your audience is listening, I want you. Hopefully, you can hear it. Here we go.
Yeah.
How did he get his feet down?
So you see, if that was any other time.
Oh, there's my boy Hines, 86 right there.
Oh, yeah, he jumped in.
Yeah, he did.
Hines was the first one that came over to me and told me that it's good, Coach.
He saw
Good.
it.
He saw it.
He said, it's good, Coach.
Here it is. Look at this pass. I mean, look at this.
Look at the toes.
Oh. I mean, that's insane. That's
absolutely. And you got to maintain that all the way through the catch, and he did.
Right.
And you started that in training camp. You planted that seed.
Well,
that was your final.
Well, you had tried it earlier in the playoffs, according to the article I read, and he missed it. And then by the time it came to that point, the timing for Roethlisberger, from all the practice, all the preparation, the timing finally was there for that one moment. It's almost like such a time as this.
It's that moment in time.
3 guys.
As of 2022, this was voted the best Super Bowl game in history.
Really? As of 22?
As of 2022, what I saw.
Wow, that's
which is impressive. Top 4 games of all time or something.
It was pretty intense.
Kurt Warner knew it was good too.
He knew it was good too, but what they didn't know was, what no one was really thinking was, there's still more time on the clock. So generally, you'd love to not give Kurt Warner or Pat Mahomes.
Like 2 minutes.
You don't want to give Ben Roethlisberger the ball.
That ball,
Tom Brady, you can't give them the ball with time left.
2 minutes left.
Well,
couple timeouts.
They had less than that. And,
okay,
I think their timeouts got used.
It was at 43 seconds,
Yeah.
so they scored it.
They got the ball almost close to midfield. They had a shot for the Hail Mary. They got Fitzgerald on the other side.
That's right.
I mean, you're sitting there going,
it's not completely done.
Here we go.
Completely done.
And then, obviously,
it worked out.
And,
yeah,
y'all are up like 14-0 at halftime, I believe.
Yeah,
is that right? Wow.
This end zone was good to us.
Well, at least it wasn't 28. At least it wasn't 28 to nothing or whatever.
It's always on that.
Yeah, like
we
Falcons.
scored down there, and that's where James Harrison intercepted and went.
James Harrison, one of the best 100-yard interceptions. I was going to bring that up. Best him and Polamalu are like two of the best ever to do. Defense.
You have so many. You're gonna have to.
So many stories.
Crazy.
So many stories. Well, by the way, Randy, great job on the hot seat. You killed it.
Yeah, you
gave me some easy ones.
All the Hoosiers. I mean, I thought you might have to debate over them. I didn't think they'd be yes or no kind of quick answers.
I would imagine.
Once you defined, it is yes or no. There's a line.
I told you I'd give you your chance.
Yeah,
I told you I'd give you your chance.
Hey, I was Purdue, Big Ten for sure. But when I went to Michigan to coach, I learned real quick that, oh boy, you don't like those other guys in Ohio either.
That's right.
I mean,
they don't like
the
Ohio
heated
State.
rivalries are heated rivalries.
Yes, and all the ones you're talking about. And what's going to happen is, where does Texas fall? And who are they going to fall with now that they're in?
Well, that's exactly right. They're going to continue hating Oklahoma, right? Yeah. They're going to continue having the Red River rivalry, but they're going to, because of this play in Texas, and there may be a Texas-Georgia thing that happens, we'll play them in Athens next year, so we'll pick up on them. And look, as a Georgia fan, I still have a tough time with Florida. Everybody asks me about, y'all beat Florida. I said, man, have you been a part of this rivalry as long as I've been a part? Right. I mean, we're going into Jacksonville, neutral site, and Florida's a better team than what they look like, and they always play us hard. I mean, the SEC for me is just such a hard. Like this year feels like you don't know who. I mean, Vandy beat Alabama.
Who's the dominant
Vandy's
team?
such a better team than what they.
I think you're seeing it. You're going to see it with some of the newcomers. You're seeing it with some of the newcomers, like Oklahoma's and Texas, even now with a loss. But you're talking about, how about coaches? You don't think that the coach at Alabama right now is not saying, "Oh man, this conference is a little different."
This is harder than Oregon.
Welcome to the SEC. Welcome to the SEC.
It's real ball. Yeah. One of the things I learned about the National Football League was every week you had to play. You
can't take a week.
There isn't a game. There isn't a game when you've already won the division, and we have won the division so many times before we played Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, it was like Cleveland last game of the year. We've already won the division. Set Ben. Set everything. Yeah. I can't remember Ben really beating Cleveland because he never got to play against him.
He was sitting down.
Yeah. He did beat him. I think he's undefeated. Maybe. One game, one playoff game.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, Randy, again, you crushed the 7 questions. You killed it on the hot seat, so congratulations there. But I wanted to, again, introduce you, Randy Fichtner. You started out in case people didn't know, he played defensive back at the Purdue Boilermakers. The Purdue Boilermakers. But then you went on, as you've alluded to, Michigan. You were a graduate assistant there under Bo Schembechler, right?
They almost
USC.
They were in the title hunt that year.
I know.
Dude. I was just looking at 86.
USC. You were a graduate assistant at USC. Is that correct? After that,
actually out there, the title I took was called volunteer coach. It was the last year of a volunteer coach. And it allowed you to not be constrained by the graduate assistant rule. And they can pay me; they just can't pay me through the school.
Gotcha.
So that was the beginning of
I can make a career. Oh yeah,
I'm being like, hey, it was a great job. To be honest, if it was the beginning of my coaching career and where you could get benefits or you could be a part of the university,
that's great.
I would have stayed, but it was time.
And then UNLV.
University
of Nevada, Las
Vegas, dude.
How old?
That's I was 24.
Vegas. Let's get to those stories.
You're still working, though.
L.A., Vegas were very good to me.
Great places to be 23, 24.
Yes.
And then you made your way to the great state of Tennessee, Memphis.
From Vegas to Memphis.
Memphis.
That's a culture shock.
And that's where I met my wife, Jennifer. Who
all right.
So
that's all right. In Memphis.
A Southern Belle, dude. A Southern Belle. It makes sense.
Finally, Purdue comes calling. You go to be a wide receivers coach and recruiting director at Purdue.
Yep.
So
that
that you went back, and there's that. So you feel yourself kind of just inch by inch, kind of going up the grind, right?
Yep. And it comes down to at what point do you want to stay on that merry-go-round or jump off? And sometimes it tells you.
Did you help recruit Drew Brees, or he came in right then?
It was right around that.
That was all Joe Tiller.
Okay.
That was their staff. Yes. Was he on our recruiting list?
Yeah, because it was right around then.
But did we have that all set up? No. Joe came in and he brought his whole staff from Wyoming.
Okay.
Sadly, I wasn't kept. I wanted to stay. Joe knew I played for Joe. Joe was our defense coordinator when I was at Purdue.
Oh, okay.
And, and it asked all his staff to come, and
once you have that unity,
but it doesn't usually happen. Someone elevates to be the head coach, and they keep 3 more guys, and he kept looking at me like, Randy, we're going to have a spot.
Gotcha.
Relax.
Just relax. Yeah.
Relax turned into I don't have a job now. I got to go do something, and I turned down a couple opportunities in waiting, but.
You're Arkansas State, right?
I went to Arkansas State, and it's funny. It's probably the least amount of
is that Arkansas State?
No, but the tag.
Yeah.
It's not Michigan.
Right.
It's not USC Trojans.
Right. But you were offensive coordinator.
Correct. Yeah. But more importantly, I got to hire my staff, and Mike Tomlin was the first guy I hired.
Oh, really? Okay, at Arkansas State.
In his first job, full time.
Come on.
Okay.
And so his wife and my wife are best buddies.
That's awesome.
And in the news, you don't know, his daughter's a freshman at the University of Georgia Bulldog.
What?
She
is
on a scholarship for gymnastics.
That's one of the best gymnastics programs in the nation.
He's going to the Olympics.
She picked Georgia.
That's awesome.
Over all of them. LSU.
Yeah, right. They're all really. The SEC has a great gymnastics. So does Big Ten, actually.
LSU.
But Georgia has an incredible pedigree of gymnasts that have come out of the University of Georgia.
Where was Talon at before Arkansas State?
He was at Memphis as a graduate assistant, and I knew him from a couple of coaches there that talked really highly of him. And so then we were looking for coaches, and Joe Hollis, who was the head coach, said, "Hey, go hire your staff offensively."
That's amazing. But what a great opportunity for you though in learning how to build a staff at an early stage or mid stage. I mean, you cut your teeth quite a bit in coaching at that point, but to what a great. Sometimes the best leaders allow you to.
Joe Hollis was great because he was the offense coordinator of Ohio State at the time. And if you remember those good teams, they went undefeated. They were playing in the Rose Bowl. They had all the great wide receivers, Galway, the tight end, all first-round draft picks, fullback, quarterback, everybody. Right. That was that team. Yeah. And he had to wait until after the Rose Bowl. Even though he had been the head coach at Arkansas State, we hired me in mid-December. He's like, get down there and start working.
Let's get ahead of things.
That's how it came about. I was actually recruiting before he had even finished his season. And Mike was in Memphis, and we ran into each other. And basically, I actually hired him that moment without even asking Joe Hollis. I said, hey, look, I need your phone number. I'm going to call you tonight. Yeah. We called tonight. And within a day, he was like, I'm on.
That's awesome.
And you guys ended up winning the Super Bowl together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so from Arkansas State, then you went back to Memphis as the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. That's where D'Angelo
Williams.
I recruited D'Angelo.
Didn't he have all kinds of records in college? He had the most rushing yards.
When you talk about the players of the era was Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, he was coming on right behind him then.
And Adrian was always number 2 in rushing.
And you decided to go towards the spread offense. Did you do that at Arkansas? I mean, what made you go from kind of like the pro style towards the spread? Is it the players?
That
like, what gets that?
Tommy West.
Yep.
We had a really unique staff. I was the only coach hired. The staff had already been in place. So it was kind of unique going in as offense coordinator where Clay Helton and some of these other guys were already on the staff. So his whole staff was put together. He just needed a coordinator. Yeah. Usually you get to go in and then you kind of bring your staff, kind of be in communication with the head coach about how you want to fit it.
Right.
So originally I was a little bit apprehensive about it because I just wasn't sure. I didn't know many of these guys. I had never worked with them. And but Memphis was my wife's home. Memphis was we had great experience there the first time I recruited
Germantown.
Isaac Bruce there.
Oh,
Isaac Bruce.
So you're talking about 2 of the Hall of Famers.
Greatest show on turf
from Memphis. The 2 best players maybe in Memphis history.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't know he was from
Memphis was really put back on the map in football when you were there. I mean, that's how they got to even having a Mike.
D'Angelo Williams.
Norvell.
I mean, dude,
that's where it became a coaching
awesome.
kind of stop. Was you guys kind of put on the map? Crazy story though. Danielle's dad, my wife's dad, all those years ago. So it would have been though he'd been way back before that time. But he played tennis at what was Memphis State. Memphis State.
What? There's a Memphis State?
Well, it turned into University of Memphis.
Okay. Memphis State Teachers College. Then it went to Memphis State University. Then it went to the University of Memphis.
Yeah,
just kind of absorbed.
Right. It just kind of
all
like
along they've been
grown.
the Tigers.
How big is that campus, or like how many students go there?
Back then, maybe 35,000, but only.
That's a lot, though. Jeez.
Commuter school.
Yeah.
There's not many live on campus.
Gotcha.
Dorms and stuff like that. Yeah, there's not
athletes.
A lot.
But has it
That's a
changed
lot,
now a little bit more?
Little bit,
maybe. Yeah. So then after Memphis, then you make the jump into the NFL. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers coach 2007. 2009, they give you the quarterbacks coach, or you earn the quarterbacks coach 2010, 2017. Move in then to offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for a few years, and then finally the offensive coordinator. Yeah, because you were only one of 2 or 3 people doing both the offensive coordinator and the quarterback.
New England was doing
that. Was the only other one. Yeah.
I don't know if you do fantasy football, but Big Ben won me a couple titles. All right, so I just want to holler. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Big
it.
Ben won everyone.
Yeah.
Big Ben won a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you.
So, but what is the pace like and the grind like? We just kind of went down that lineage, where your kind of the resume, your coaching resume, and where you started. What's that grind like to go through that and to have to work through that? Because it feels to me every time you and to your credit, you felt like you needed to make those jumps. I'll let you answer, but it seems like every time you go to a new place, you're sometimes learning a new system. You're learning a new system from that coach. Your coach, they're learning your new system, and then the grind start, new players and all that. I mean, what is that like going through that?
Well, it felt in the beginning. It felt I'm just going to be honest. I was a tad bit nervous because I hadn't. Even though I've been around the NFL my whole life, and my father, and I've been to practices and games and training camps. I was one of those little kid. I was ball boys. I guess I wasn't nervous about. I think the making the jump and realizing that you've been in college football, and in Memphis you haven't been around an NFL city. So I had spent so many years there at Memphis or Arkansas State. It was great for my family because my wife's nucleus of her family's there, and I love the area, and they embraced me in that school a couple times to be there. I was offered a head coaching job while I was in Pittsburgh at Memphis, and it just wasn't ever the right time to go back. Again. But I don't know. You gotta. I don't know. You just got to do it. I was nervous, and when you got there, you realized that we all put our shoes on the same way. I have ideas; they have ideas. Bruce Arians was great because
you're constantly learning from these people too, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, Bruce was great because he wanted to hear. He had been out of college football for a while, and if you stay out for a while, you kind of get away from some of those thoughts. And
where was he the coach? Where was he? Was he the head coach at?
He went to the head coach at Temple. He was the head coach at Arizona Cardinals.
Okay,
and then
I knew that.
He won the Super Bowl in Tampa.
Okay, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
right. Just recently.
In Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Didn't he fill in interim in Indianapolis?
When did you work with him again?
Oh, I was there in 2007.
That was when he was the offensive coordinator for the Steelers.
Yes.
Okay.
And he and I worked directly together.
Yep.
Where I went professionally came right from him.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's no doubt. And
when you were on this tree climbing up it, did you carry like the notepad? I mean, where do you come? I mean, you have all these great plays. You have all these. You switched from different offenses. You've been in pro style offenses. You've been in spread. You've brought different offenses to different teams based on, I guess, what you felt were given to you. Yeah. Where do you pick up all these? I mean, do you just storm in your brain, or you writing notes? What are you doing?
I mean, you see things. I mean, the NFL is notorious for copying. I mean, you hear those terms,
sure.
but to Mike Tomlin's defense, he used to say it all the time. If you put something on tape that's broke, it's going to stay on tape until you fix it.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going right at that weak link, know, and so there were certain things that you knew that was part of your football that you were always going to do. I think the thing that gave me comfort at night was I never felt like I asked the guys to do something that maybe they couldn't do or it didn't fit their abilities. You know, I gauged that from Ben to the 3 Bs with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and I mean we had some we had some really talented
that team was stacked. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Hines Ward, but that team was stacked.
Oh yeah, I mean, Hines Ward was freaking awesome.
I mean, his size was amazing.
I mean, his drop rate had to be. He had the most catches.
Well, his extra spray. His extra spray.
He had he has 1,000 catches for the Steelers.
Wow.
And he stayed, his last year probably, graciously the Steelers and everybody, it was the last year.
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah.
When the time comes, and he put his body, he gave everything.
Everything he could.
And he would lay out defenders. It was
but he was that way in college when he was so Hines Ward is kind of from my hometown.
Yeah.
And Forest Park, Georgia is where he went to high school for. He was a year older than me. And so in our hometown, our counties were side by side, but I also grew up in his county before my parents transferred. There was a lot of like suburban movement going on back then. But there was one major stadium in our couple counties called Terrace Stadium, and they would kind of have featured games that would be at Terrace Stadium. And so as a high school, like a junior in high school, sophomore in high school, we would go and watch Forest Park play just to watch this quarterback that could do anything, anywhere play. And it was Hines Ward.
Yeah, because he
played quarterback.
Yeah,
he played quarterback in high school, goes into the University of Georgia. At some point, I think it's his sophomore year, two quarterbacks go down. And like midway through the season, he's one of the only guys at the University of Georgia has, I think it's like 800 passing yards and over thousands of however many yards receiving. So he has the most passing and receiving yards of any receiver at the University of Georgia because he played like half a season. He played quarterback for the University of Georgia.
Well, a story about that real quick.
Yeah. We got all day.
We got all day.
You mentioned
we can add it. You just keep going.
I can tie this together with Antoine Randall L.
Okay? Which is
because I love L.
Great Hoosier.
No, I love L.
He's from Indiana?
He is a great guy. He's a great guy. I did not like him when he played at IU
because he's awesome.
Too damn good.
Too good.
Yeah, too damn good.
He was incredible.
But so L and Hines are on the team, and so we're doing trick plays and we're talking about.
Wow! And you got two guys that can throw.
Two quarterbacks, everything.
Yeah.
But at that point in time with Hines' career, you don't get any credit for throwing a touchdown pass.
Right.
As a receiver, you get dollar bills and all kinds of stuff if you catch touchdown passes.
Right.
Or score points.
Right.
Or have catches that add on. The pass doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So by the time in his career, kind of after, even at the Super Bowl before we got there, L threw him the ball.
That's right.
I can only imagine that meeting with Cower and them sitting back in there.
Figuring out who's going to do it.
I'm not throwing it. He will because I've been here longer than him.
And I want to be the catch. I'm MVP,
exactly.
baby.
I'm catching this ball.
I'm MVP, and I'm going to be the from that. He was remember his mom was from like Asia or Korea, and so he was like
Korea.
He was like he was like the ambassador to like South Korea for the NFL because of that catch. Yeah.
No, he's the best.
He is.
Next time we'll have him on remote or something. Just
I know.
Get this. So he was telling me about Hines.
Let's call him. Let's call him.
Let's get him on. Let's get him on. The thing is, but he's got a basketball court with hedges.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the I love Hines, man. Those Georgia guys, hey, they are always DGD. Always damn good dogs.
The all-natural surface he put down with his basketball court, and it had Georgia Bowl.
That's great.
All the stuff on it.
That's great.
But that was the best part.
The hedges
that goes back.
That's so good.
It was so cool.
Was he true? Hey, true to the G, baby.
I want to watch Hines Ward trim his hedges.
And I will say, he throws a great 4th of July party.
That's
he throws a great 4th of July.
Wait, does he live back home or is he
in Atlanta?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me how that is. I'd like to come.
Yeah,
we can make that.
Yeah, Hines, we're waiting on that.
Hey, tell him about our July 4th that we did here, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, where you like almost blew up the house with the bad
we had a bad batch of fireworks.
Bad batch of fireworks that Juice got from like
China, dude. Chinese know how to make fireworks. They invented fireworks. They don't understand what happened. They invented them. They should have shot fine.
So in business, I had all these. I came from the sanitation world, and when we did sanitation, I was second generation garbage hauler. When we did sanitation, we would have competitors all the time, and we served kind of the metro Atlanta area. And we had at any time we had 18 competitors in any different area we were in. And so while I wanted to know what my competitors were doing, I thought it was important for me to kind of know what they were doing. I really, for the most part, kept my head down, unless unless they poked the bear and sent some flyer out like attacking me. I pretty much just decided.
Is it trash world that hardcore?
There's competitive wars. It's competitive.
Right.
It's competitive. But, the interesting part of it is we would just keep our head down because I felt like if we could focus on our game plan, right, have clean trucks, good service, fair price, we won, right? But your business, I feel like you have to know what your competitors are doing. Like, you really have to know it to draw up the right scheme. Like, what is that preparation like?
Within that, you still got to do the things that you do well and the things that you practice. And we did kick out of the coaches that always want to change every week. You start changing every week, or your play of the week. Hey, I saw someone do this against this. I can go over example after example. If it's not in your base system and you don't have a clear understanding from a protection standpoint of what you're asking the guys to do, what are the subtleties? If they put a 3-4 defense up there, are you going to be able to block it the same way as you would a 4-3? And then what happens when nickel blitz and free safety? Do you have all the answers? I watch what they do. It's a great play. Someone did it against the Giants 2 weeks ago. It's awesome. It's on that tape.
Yeah.
And guess what? Monday night, we got the Giants.
So
I'm going to run that.
Yeah.
But we don't really kind of have that protection. We don't. What do they do with that protection? I'm going to say that if you do those things, you're taking a risk. It's okay when they work. When they don't, you better have the answer when your quarterback's laying on his butt.
Right.
And, got hit in the
you
back
got outside
or
yourself.
something because you decide to do something that looked good, but you don't understand. So I think if you keep it within what you know your players can do and the things that your base football from training camp.
Right.
It's funny, Bruce Arians used to no practice during training camp was ever the same scripts. Ever. I mean ever.
Wow.
He would go a whole practice and not repeat one play.
Wow.
Now, you're talking scripts of the whole practice, 2-hour practice.
So as a player or coach, you need to know where you're supposed to be doing those plays, right?
And the coach has got to know where everybody's got to be.
You're responsible for that information.
That's right.
Now.
Yeah.
When they give you that book,
Yeah.
it's the only thing they get back before they cut you.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to make sure that book we have,
Yeah.
and you're responsible for taking care of that book. Now it's not, everything's on, the iPads
Log in.
and all that. But, I
gotta
think if
stay
you
at
stay
it.
within your base football
Yep.
and you have all that time tested in training camp, in preseason games, if you don't stray far from that and you pick and choose based on what you're going to see and the personnel and the situations that are going to cause you problems that week, like TJ Watt does to people, you better know. I mean, if you run a boot to the right, shame on you.
Yeah.
If you throw a quick screen to your right,
Yeah.
shame on you.
Yeah.
You didn't do your homework. You don't understand the AFC North, and you sure don't understand TJ
You got a
Watt.
game plan.
You never run naked or boot his way.
On
Hey,
his way.
because he is. Hey, to quote what is that, Jim from the Saints or whatever? That he is who he thought he was. Who was that? Was that Jim? I can't remember. He is who he thought they were.
That's who we thought we were.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, so I have this love-hate relationship with a coordinator in college football. I love him.
Oh,
And
I
then
know who you're
hated
talking
him.
about. Yeah,
It
Mike
goes,
Bobo.
It goes a
Never
long.
come up.
I have a long history with Mr. Bobo.
Mike Bobo.
And I do love him. I want to give Mike Bobo. I want to give you a lot of grace here at the moment because I know I don't know what you know, and I'm certain in the football. Mentality,
You act like
you
on
own
Saturdays
more than me.
yelling at the
forgotten
TV.
more about
There's
football
days-
than you know.
There's days that I feel like I know what you're
Yes.
going to call Mike Bobo, and I feel like the team knows what you're going to call. But listen, I know that your IQ, your football IQ, is higher than my football IQ. I want to say that out loud right here because I know it's not fair. I'm just a fan.
All us fans know
And
how to fix every
so
problem.
I just but my love-hate relationship goes back to Mike Bobo being the quarterback at the University of Georgia when I was at the University of Georgia. He was throwing to Hines Ward.
Yep.
He had Robert Edwards in the background, handing off to
Hard to
Robert
mess that
Edwards.
up, dude.
Hard, but he did. I feel like he did his quarterback selection. And I'll never forget it. Our buddy Joe that's been on here, shout out Joe Chapman, has been on here, and he was my one of my high school buddy, high school buddy, but then a college buddy of mine. And we were in the stands with our future wives and several of our friends, and Mike Bobo
You're married?
was throwing things away to Auburn after we had come off of beating Tennessee. I felt like at Georgia then when Jim Donnan was coaching, you just felt like, man, if we could if we could beat Tennessee
and
beat
Florida,
and beat
Auburn,
that trifecta, if we could get through that trifecta, we really had a good chance at the Natty. I always felt like that was the road for us then. And to a degree, it was. Now that we've got this expanded playoffs and all that, I don't think that's necessarily the road, but you need to beat those rivalry teams for sure. But it felt like that year we were Tennessee, we beat them. And then we beat Florida, and then in Auburn, he was just stinking it up at home at Auburn, and we were just so angry. And I can remember my buddy is in, and we were just yelling at Bobo, and we were just, Bobo, you suck, and Bobo this, and Bobo that. And then before we knew it, Bobo's roommates were sitting right in front of us.
And so, you got to watch what you say.
Well, we didn't, and it got a little heated, and we all had to exit the stadium before anybody came. Yeah. Now, funny enough, we met down in the Classic City at a bar later on, and we all had drinks together and laughed about it and apologized because we're all Georgia
in the heat of the moment.
So again, Mike Bobo, I apologize. I know that my IQ is less than your IQ, and I know that you call a great game, and you've got more yardage than a lot of people, and you've got a high-powered offense. I think as fans, it's funny. I've heckled Mike Bobo for a long time,
and he has no idea who you are.
He has no clue.
But even if he did, he would appreciate your passion.
I think that's exactly right. So my point being is, how do you handle the naysayers? Because listen, you were in Pittsburgh Steelers, and these guys have terrible towels. Yeah. And that's the least that they'll throw at you.
They're not Philly fans, right?
Towels would be great.
They're not going to throw snowballs at Santa, though, are they?
So how do you deal with these? How do you deal with some of this stuff?
I got one better.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about just running. I mean, running away. Sure. There's two ways to get onto the field. So when the team comes out for the introductions at the beginning of the game, they come out through the tunnel. But we have a hidden kind of like a baseball, like a
little dugout tunnel thing,
Yeah, that takes us out of our locker room that you can kind of quickly go to the bathroom or up and get retaped or whatever, and easier access.
Yeah.
Well, to do that, you kind of go up and you walk to these little steps and you come up underneath this where the stands are.
Yep.
I got to tell you, this gal, she might be 90. She's probably had her season tickets for over 50 years.
Oh.
She had the worst language. It didn't matter if we were winning. When we come, awesome. I mean, there he is. Are we gonna score any points today?
With some colorful words in there.
She's here. And then at halftime, if you choose to go that way,
that's so great.
She built that stadium.
Oh my God, the cuss words.
Yeah,
I mean,
you didn't even know that some of them she probably invented, huh?
Well, I'm looking up saying we're winning right now.
What if we were losing?
But that's not. But again, they're educated fans.
Sure.
Yeah. And I appreciate
Pittsburgh,
and they have a passion like you can't believe, and they deserve that. I have no problem, but that doesn't mean I have to listen to that every time. So I may go through the tunnel and not go that way.
I'm going to go to the restroom, but I'm going to go 100 yards.
Oh no, I'll hold it.
I was going to ask you,
I see it start dripping down my pants. I'm like,
that's so
not going that way.
That is so good, though. That's so good. I mean, sometimes you just have to turn it off, right? I mean, it's one of those things. It's probably why you don't have a social media presence. I checked it out. You don't really have
Me
one.
neither.
So I think Mike Bobo is like probably limited social media presence too. He goes home, he takes care of his kids, and he has to turn some of that off. And again, Mike Bobo, I just want to say I actually really love you.
I want him to come on the podcast.
You have done an incredible job. Yeah. You are a DGD. When it goes down, you are a DGD.
Please come on the podcast and put his ass in place.
You should. I would love to have you on anytime.
Well, shout out to Coach Rick too. So
Coach Rick.
Coach Rick.
I got his
hero. And I always say, everybody says, well, what? I mean, do you like Kirby Smart? I said, man, I love all. I mean, forget the Ray Goff guy. Like, I didn't much care about Ray Goff. Those errors were like dark.
Oh, you want to say
Jim Donnan gave us Mark Richt, and Mark Richt gave us Kirby Smart. Yeah. If he didn't build the program that and I've heard Mark Richt say this and Jim Donnan say this as well. The university at the time was a university that would tell these coaches, if you win, we will then build it.
Right.
And finally, after doing that with two coaches, Jim Donnan and Mark Richt, that the university says, well, we'll build it when you start, if you get over certain humps. Well, with Kirby, they were the first coach that says, well, we're just going to build it to finally keep up with the Joneses. Because I feel like that's college football to a little,
big time college football.
Like the NFL, you're there, right? Yeah. And so I'm sure the facilities are good. I'm sure they're this, but are they?
You have a sign up there. It says,
how about them dogs?
How about them dogs?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. There's one sign in the whole Steeler building.
Really?
One sign.
Motivational sign.
That's it.
What is it?
It's on your way out to the practice field. It says, take the field.
Take the field. Just take the field.
they take it off when we go down to the stadium, and they put it on top of the doors when you go out to the stadium or go out to the.
And that's what you kind of tap it on.
Everyone taps it on the way.
Take the field.
It was just an idea that Coach Tomlin said, look, if we're here to motivate,
but you're here to be business. You're in the wrong one. Yeah, you're in the wrong one.
We pick the wrong guys if they need motivation.
Correct. Yeah. But you still, as a coach, you play the motivator, the psychologist, the pump up guy, whatever you have to be,
But in college, they're kind of picking you, right? I mean, they could go anywhere. So these big programs have to compete
now. Yeah,
they have to compete with the best facilities, barbershops.
You're recruiting
recruits. Yeah, you're bringing in 18-year-olds. You're bringing 18, 19-year-old
What color
guys.
Lamborghini?
To pick them. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to get a blue or red Lamborghini. Which one?
Yeah. What kind of color Lamborghini?
What kind of NIL money?
They didn't have that back when I was.
Shit.
I wish they did. Yeah. That would have been fun.
Dude, Memphis would
I would be driving a 190,000 Prius out there.
That's right. That's right.
I know.
Right.
I will be honest with you. I didn't expect the Prius when I pulled up in the truck.
I like it. Great gas mileage. I know.
I got to tell you, that was
No, that's great.
Randy has so many good stories.
I think it's incredible. One of the other stories with Hines Ward that I loved is when I was at school there. We were talking about these guys getting some money when I was at school. Hines Ward and my buddy Joe.
Yeah, he got in trouble for something.
No, I don't ever remember. I personally cannot remember a time.
AJ
he
Green,
may have gotten AJ Green for sure.
Did.
But honestly, it was stupid. He signed these.
Yeah,
kids,
he was the one.
They're coming from
AJ
tough
Green.
areas, and
he was signing helmets. And
I
stuff.
somewhat agree with the NIL. I know there's problems. They got to work through it. But some of these kids, they're making some of them, 90% of them are the best that they'll ever get.
I think the way we
these
think
universities
of
are making
NIL
so
is
much
not
money.
what's happening, right? We were like, give him $1,000
right.
here
Well,
and there.
but
Now
AJ Green was just trying to sign some autographs to help pay his
Which
mom,
is crazy.
stuff like that. And it's crazy. Why shouldn't
You
he
can't
make
sell
a few
your own
bucks?
autographs.
That's true.
That's
NIL.
insane.
That's how it should be.
That's
NIL.
what we
Name,
expected.
image,
Now
likeness.
it's completely different.
My buddy Joe, he had Joe. Shout out Joe. He was staying at Riverwalk. I think it was Riverwalk Apartments there in Athens, Georgia, and they just opened. And also staying at Riverwalk Apartments was Hines Ward and Robert Edwards. Mm-hmm. And so when the season was over, and I want to say it was, so I can't remember if it was when they got their draft number from their agent or if they were just drafted, but both of them came in these sleekest looking sedans we've ever seen pulled up into the apartments.
All right.
You can see one was black, I think one was silver, maybe it's red and black. They had different colors, but they both bought these sleek sedans like right after he probably got drafted to Pittsburgh. I think Robert Edwards was the New England Patriots.
New England.
Right, and so it was just so funny that they finally were like, okay, we got a little coin I could buy, and they didn't buy. It wasn't like a Rolls Royce, but it was just a nice, sleek looking. It might have been a Beamer, so it's better than my car.
Now Hines did have a Bugatti sitting in the parking lot.
At some point, I'm sure
Bugatti's a different level.
You win a Super Bowl and you do a couple things get you a Bugatti. I agree.
I feel like Tom Brady got so successful because he had Robert Edwards at the beginning of his career, and it opened the door for him.
That was it.
Well, we talked about the Robert Edwards tragedy when he went to the sand. Do you remember this?
The Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl. That's
crazy.
They don't have this sand game. They used to play like a sand flag football game for the Pro Bowlers, and he blew out his
Not
ACL.
just blew it out. Not just
he almost
he blew out
lost
his knee.
his
It
leg.
was inverted the knee.
Yeah.
He almost lost his leg. It was.
I mean, they stopped. They I think reassessed what are we going to put these players through?
Sure.
Because that really. I mean, quite frankly, I don't know that he.
I bet New England didn't like that seeing.
Well, he's only there for 2 years.
I don't think Bill Belichick was the coach then, so he wouldn't have allowed that to happen. But the other story I had about Hines Ward. So we were a trash company and serviced the majority of residents in the counties that we serviced, and so we're very fortunate to build a business over 20-something years. And Hines living in Forest Park as he continued to go up. His mother stayed in Georgia for a long time. I don't know if she's moved or not. I don't know where she is. This is a number of years ago, so this would have been back in 2004 to 6 or 7. I just remember seeing that she moved to Ellenwood, Georgia, which was in another county over from Forest Park, and got a new home. I don't know if Hines was a part of that or what, but I know that we sent the garbage bill to Hines Ward.
So he paid for mom's garbage?
Hines Ward and
Randy
Travis are the two guys I know paid their mom's sanitation bill.
Pay your
And I thought that
mom's
was so. I thought that was so cool.
That's great.
That is very cool.
That's great.
But
Hey, where's
that's Hines.
That's Hines, right?
Hines was never. He would always pull out his billfold first.
Yeah.
He just did.
That's awesome.
He was great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always thought it was kind of cool, because I've not had the opportunity to meet Hines, but just to when you have players that you grew up watching and people, the kind of the heroes, and you meet them, you think there's guys you've met and you're like, oh God, that was kind of let down. But the stories have never let me down about Hines Ward.
Hey, Washington County, Georgia. Where's that? Sandersville?
I don't know.
Sandersville. Where's that at? That's Robert Edwards is the head football coach in Sandersville.
Robert.
Yeah.
So he's going back to
here
Georgia.
it is.
Okay, that might
Right
be his
there.
hometown. Okay. Awesome. Yeah,
that's great.
Oh yeah, so that's going to be kind of like
Washington
that Bainbridge,
County.
like headed down that.
That's
South
way
Georgia?
north of Bainbridge.
Is it north of?
Yeah, that's
so
like
out towards
by
Savannah,
Macon.
then. Out towards
East of
Savannah,
Macon.
Yeah.
I got a question, Coach.
So Robert Edwards is the coach.
Is it still in you when you watch in NFL or when you watch in college? Do you just go like, man, they're in the wrong formation right now. This is going to be. I mean, do you still break it down, or
That's
do you
a
enjoy
question best asked to my son, to my wife, my daughter, who's.
Do you
back
still
living
yell
with
at the
us,
television?
My nephew who's living with us.
They know.
My adopted
So they
son
know.
who's living with us.
They know.
They don't want to be around me. And it's
They tell you what's going to happen.
It's not. It isn't anything more than I sit there and go, oh no, why?
You see
do
a game
that,
different than
do
we do.
that. Oh, how great was that? And I mean, many times I'll get up and take note. I mean, I would actually go
That's
take a
awesome.
note and.
That's great.
Does
Well,
your son coach?
you have a number that you could probably text me like, hey, I was watching this. Do you do that with any of your buddies that you're out there? Where you occasionally, like, if you see something right, and you just say, hey, I might have caught something that you could use. Do you ever
well,
do
we
that?
used to. All of our staff
Yeah.
was big college football.
Sure.
So when you would. Saturdays were huge at the hotels. I paid many times for Purdue's sadness. Okay, $100 guaranteed. I mean, if you're Ohio State and I'm
Right.
Purdue,
Right.
doesn't matter how many we had. Cam Hayward,
Right.
and Santonio Holmes. I was paying out $500 at some time because it's a standard bet.
It's a standard bet.
It's
yeah.
standard. If
Well,
your
we
team's
see
playing,
He
all
won't
the
bet on
guys
Georgia.
I won't bet
He
on
won't
Georgia.
bet on Georgia.
I stopped it. I've done all the things where I would put
Which
on
he didn't
your-
want a crap load
your
of money,
license-
but,
your license plate and all this. But even in the high times, I laid off them a while ago, and I was like, I'm never going back because it's like now I can't. I can't go back. It's been too good.
He bets
But
IU 'cause
I've
they
done
cover
all-
every week.
Yeah, I have bet IU lately. I have been.
They cover every week.
They've been covered.
Did they
so
cover
that's a
against
good one.
Washington?
They cover every
But you
week.
see in the NFL, the players come to the podium after the Sunday game, and they're in like a Texas garb, or they're in a Georgia garb, and they were played at Texas, or vice versa. You see that happen all the time, where they're having to wear a T-shirt. I think I saw Stetson Bennett had to wear an Alabama T-shirt the other day at the Rams, and that had to hurt him. I mean, two-time natty, and so he had to wear an Alabama shirt. So they get it's a good ribbing, I imagine.
it's huge.
Yeah.
You're listening to What the Hell Do I Know with JB. JB with ADHD. Elemental B. Anyway, back to the show.
All right, so, man, we're back live, and I want to give a big shout-out to our show sponsor, ChickenCockWhiskey.com. You can find it, ChickenCockWhiskey.com. We are drinking today their Mizunara Japanese oak. The time it takes to grow, the rarity of the oak, the thoughtful selection process, and the care taken in tasting and resting our Mizunara has resulted in one of the richest, smoothest, and unique tasting whiskeys we've ever produced.
Konnichiwa.
So shout out to Konnichiwa. Chicken. And when we drink bourbon, we drink chicken cock.
Chicken cock,
baby.
Japanese
Chicken
oak
cock.
barrel.
Jack-
It's a great finish.
What did you just
Japanese oak barrel?
No,
isn't
but
it?
you're konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa?
Is that like hello? I mean, I
It
don't
means
know.
something. I
So
think it's hello.
in break, we took a quick break. We had to step down from the $10 podcast, and we had to take a quick break. It's $6 podcast.
$6.
And we were just talking about the Hoosier Dome, and we didn't get it live, but so they created a Hoosier Dome in Indiana, and you were in the
Very first game that was played there, Notre Dame, Purdue.
Notre Dame, Purdue.
Just remembering it, I know for a fact Rod Woodson blocked either it was a field goal or a
That's
PAT
amazing.
to win the game.
To win the game. And Purdue beat Notre Dame in the first ever Hoosier Dome.
Well,
in
that
Indiana.
year was the first time any team in the history of college football to beat Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame in the same year.
Wow.
That's right.
Boom.
Purdue did this?
I will tell you,
was-
Indiana.
Wow.
But who was the natty that year?
It was 92. What year was it?
84.
84.
84. I wanna
Probably
say it was,
Miami or Nebraska.
Yeah, I was going to say it would have been Miami or
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have been the coach in Miami then? I wonder.
Erickson
Would have been. Oh yeah.
I was just a kid. I remember in Bloomington it says Purdue beats Notre Dame.
Yeah.
In a Bloomington newspaper.
Bloomington
Like
newspaper.
we're Indiana University.
In the Hoosier
In
Dome.
the Hoosier.
In the Hoosier Dome.
Yeah, that's
Try
crazy.
figuring that out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird.
right?
That's so weird. That's so weird. And now
I found it.
you did. Who was the Natty?
Wait.
Is that 84? We're looking it up online. Juice with the Google.
Nebraska.
The
It says
Google.
Auburn faced off against Miami.
Could have been. I don't know. You keep looking that up.
I have
while you're doing that.
I actually have a ring.
Yeah.
It's got 3 diamonds on it.
Okay.
And it's Michigan, Ohio State, and Notre Dame.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's
So
the
they did a
Purdue ring
commemorative
for
ring.
the Peach Bowl because we played in Atlanta. The Peach
You
Bowl
were in
that
the
year.
Peach Bowl.
And the first time I remember Eric going to some club that they had. I'll just say it was a club.
Yeah.
I
get
didn't know
you.
anything about them kind of clubs back
Our
then.
audience understands what you're talking about.
Oh wow! So the de facto national championship game that year was BYU over Michigan.
And you
I
beat
remember
Michigan
that now.
Was Ty Detmer? Are we talking Ty Detmer? Are we
That's
young?
before
Is this
Ty Detmer.
young?
This
Is this
is
young?
1984.
Is this Steve
before
Young?
Ty, yeah.
I wonder if Steve Young was the quarterback for BYU.
It had to be. If it was, he went to be
Or
at Stanford.
Was
Well,
it McMahon?
Elway
here, I'm pulling it up
Elway
right
was
now.
the quarterback in '82 when Stanford came to Purdue.
Okay.
So I don't know if that gives you a reference.
BYU, the
Senior.
quarterback was Robbie Bosco. He was a junior.
Bosco.
I don't know, Robbie. I did go to play golf at a really nice resort in Las Vegas, and at the resort was this was a resort you reserved your names, and when you got there, they in gold plate they would put your name on the locker when you got there. This is a nice resort.
I played at one of those courses in my
This
life.
is, it's everything's desert out there, and somehow they make everything super green on those golf courses. On these, this I can't even remember the name of it. And we got there, and as me and my brother-in-law, and we were playing on this golf course. My brother-in-law is an amazing golfer, and I'm like, okay, but they tee us up with another guy. Now they have what caddies that will go along with you, and so they kind of watch you at the driving range. And the caddy comes up to us and he says, "Listen, guys, we're going to go ahead and need to leave. I saw those guys that are supposed to tee off in front of us. They just were doing bumps of coke, and it's probably best if we get in front of
For the cocaine players.
I thought, I kind of think that's a good idea. But I say all that to say that my fourth on that golf was supposed to be Jim McMahon, and his partner showed up to play. His buddy showed up to play. Said Jim McMahon had partied too much the night before. He wasn't going to make it.
You'll see him in a couple weeks down here. They have the celebrity golf tournament over at Sandestin.
Oh, is that when they do the?
Yeah.
What do they call that?
I think celebrity golf.
Okay, I thought they had a
Pretty
weird
simple.
name for it.
Maybe
the Zha or something like that, or
something like that.
Do you play in that? Do you play
or
golf?
something,
You play a lot of golf?
I do.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool. They do. The Sandestin golf courses. The Raven and the Burnt Pine, both those golf courses. They're amazing golf courses. But we are at the part of it is the quote of the day by Tay Tay.
There's no way she has a football quote.
There's no way.
Well, she has Kelsey
This
now.
is
Have to bring
Taylor.
Randy.
She did with
Taylor
a Super
Swift.
Bowl. Yeah.
We all are girl dads.
That
my
has nothing to do
daughters
with this.
love Taylor Swift. My son just went
Don't
to Taylor
bring me
Swift
into
with
this.
his girlfriend.
Don't bring
to
me into
Taylor
this.
Swift. Taylor Swift, we believe Taylor Swift might even be moving to Destin. In fact, Taylor, if your people are watching this, you have a seat at our podcast, Taylor Swift.
I'll allow that, but I'm just
quote-
saying, don't bring me into the other stuff.
You're going to learn when your daughter grows up and Taylor's like 60 and she's still listening to your songs.
I have a 1-year-old.
It'll be
She's
a
going to
while.
like it. She's going to like there'll be somebody else. But quote of the day by Tay Tay. She said, "In your life, you'll do things greater than dating the boy on the football team." That was from.
Is that
Okay,
Shannon
that's a
Kelsey
little
already? Or is this
bit-
pre-Kelsey?
By the way, she is the greatest football fan, NFL football fan out there right now. We all
Really?
know this.
I was going to go with player,
it is-
not fan.
It is the team that her boyfriend plays on.
Has not
They
lost
seem
a
to do
game, I
pretty
feel
good.
like.
They seem to be a
okay.
pretty good team.
They get that Mahomes guy. He's not horrible.
So I understand if you go to Kansas City,
6
she
for
is,
8. He's
there-
6 touchdowns,
There's
8
Chiefs
interceptions.
billboards, and a lot of Chiefs billboards even have Taylor Swift on them now. So they have gone full in. Kansas City has gone full in Tay-Tay as well. So she is definitely a big part of the Shield these days. I would
She's
say.
marketable.
Well, she's bringing people to. There are people that did not watch NFL football
right.
that are
They're
watching
watching it
NFL
now.
football now. I promise you. My girls bought sweatshirts that says "I'm cheering for Taylor's boyfriend."
That's pretty
And they're
good.
not Kansas City fans.
I want to know the guy who came up with that.
Yeah, right.
Yes, that's the guy we want to be friends with, right? Why couldn't couldn't we come up with that? So, but yeah, so we talked about being being that I was sanitation, second generation sanitation company. My father-in-law was the one who started the company in 1987. So we went till we exited in 2009. Y'all can do the math online. I'm not going to do it right now, but 15. Yeah, it was longer
15
than
years ago.
Longer than 15. You're not going to do the math either. But
2009.
I said 1987 to 2009.
Oh,
it's
how
not
long
15,
you were there? I got
not 15
22,
years,
yeah.
but yeah.
Gotcha.
So at any rate,
years.
yeah.
Where's my brilliant dude? Come on.
Hey, he's from Tallahassee. What the heck you want? Yeah,
I'm from South Georgia.
Double back to Norvell sometime.
We will.
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Yeah.
We'll double that. Let me get
back.
this question. Let me get this question out there. So, but man, my father-in-law used to call him Little Hitler. Man, this guy would wear me out. So my days, especially when I started, I had to learn everything. Right. So I needed to know how to change the tires. I toted garbage. I drove the trucks. I changed oil. I answered phones. I did deposits. I just had to do all these different jobs. But I would get up at 4 a.m. to be there, 4:30 or whatever it was, and then we would open the shop up at 5 as people started coming in and leaving out. You got to get up early to get the garbage gone. By 1 o'clock, though, if garbage isn't picked up, you got a problem. So you kind of want it all up off the street. But that's about when my father-in-law would call, and he'd have all these questions. But, man, he would preach to me. He's the world's greatest preacher. And he'd preach to me until like 7, 8 o'clock at night. I just felt like I couldn't get off the phone some days. And like I said, I used to call him Little Hitler. Now, looking back, I'm super appreciative of the what he poured into me to learn lessons and discipline and thinking and critical thinking and all of these things that I think hopefully made me a better entrepreneur and a better investor and a better dad and a better leader. What the hell do I know? But
You probably can't change a tire right now. I guarantee you that.
Oh, boy, I can change a tire. I change a tire. There's certain things you could. I will tell you what I also do is that I try to have a little coin in my pocket to be able to have somebody change the tire. But I can do it if I had to do it. Yeah. I can do it. So my point being, I imagine that rigor style of coaching that you also had now, probably even more nights that you were studying film, you're going through things and into late. And so I can remember coming home and my dinners being kind of in the microwave and things of that nature. And so for me, it was kind of how do I find time? Because I'm building a business, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing all these things. How do I find time for my family?
Right.
In that, what did you do? Where were you at?
First off, I have to say, Mike Tomlin made that accessible because he did not require you to guard your desk. And he would refer to it that way. But don't be guarding your desk.
Yeah.
When your work's done, get going.
That's awesome.
Yeah, get going. And so I was always early, and I like the early time. Jolie Dunn was a long-time coach, defense coordinator in college football, and he was a guy that in Las Vegas years earlier showed me the early morning time was so good for you. And I was like, oh, boy, I don't know about that. But we're talking 3:30. I was a 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. If I wasn't in the office by 4 o'clock.
What, in the morning?
In the morning.
Wow. Crap, dude.
Juice doesn't even know what that hours
Wow.
No, you can ask.
Going to bed at 4
You can ask anybody who ever worked with me.
That's
They
crazy.
know that I did the morning, and at night I'm done. And so if you're looking for me to be a coach that's going to work until 2 in the morning and we're going to have a bed in the office and all that, you got the wrong coach. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
But that was a choice I made because I knew what Mike's philosophy was on all that. You're going to see your family on one end or the other.
Yeah.
Where are you going to do it?
You were going to find
You're
it.
probably right. It's probably
So-
better to do it late.
I had to because if we couldn't wait until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's meeting started at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
with the team.
Yeah.
So we'd have early staff meetings. It gave me time to get things done in the morning. But I go back to your original question. It's Mike's organization.
Yep.
He was always organized. He always kept you calendars ahead, thinking ahead, and whatever you need.
Because of that, though, you could have some mental stability because you need family, right?
There's
You
no
need
doubt.
that connection. And so if I can remember one time I'm in a youth group, and I don't remember which youth group it was, but I can remember somebody used an illustration of the Dallas Cowboys coach back in the day. He was the guy that was at Miami.
Jimmy Johnson.
And Jimmy Johnson. They said that now again, I don't know if it's true or not, but said he told his family, here's a TV, and this is where you can see me every Sunday, and I'm going to focus on this, and then he went to build a dynasty. Whether he did that or not, I think the illustration was in a youth setting to try to drive home the point of how he was giving up something.
Yeah, priorities.
Putting priorities in place, and I'm sure it related back to Jesus somehow.
Well, family,
family and whatnot.
That's number one.
But obviously along the way, coaches have taken a lesson to say, I mean, you could go that route, right, and give up your entire family. But you can have a balance.
There's no doubt.
Right?
I know you can.
Yeah. Well, you did.
We did.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is the success of Mike Tomlin.
Sure.
That is in his leadership style.
Yeah.
Is allowing for coaches to do your own thing. Finish your job. Do what you got to do. If you need help, ask me. If you need this, ask. If we need to have, he was great provider.
Yeah, that's so cool.
He was just a provider.
Yeah, don't worry about all that stuff.
Most
that hardly ever shows up. And again, we're like $4 podcast now, so it's all good.
I mean, I say about $3.50. But
you miss a lot with your family.
Yeah, the family.
Yeah. And I'm finding out right now just how much I missed, and I'm not willing to miss anymore.
But I didn't know you. I didn't know you in the football capacity. I knew that after you've left the football, but to see what just as a casual observer of yours, how your family and your people rally. I mean, there's people coming through your house. I'm like, they live here too?
Yeah.
Like, this guy he is a lover of people. Lover of people. Great. And there's something to be said about that, where your heart is looking out for.
So that actually kind of leads me to my next question. So, listen, I'm not going to have you answer this particular question. I'm going to have a lead up to it. So there's no gotcha moments here.
No problem.
So I don't know if this is true, but news at one point, which we know can be fake.
There's some fake news.
It's like more fake than real.
They said that the offensive coordinator for the Steelers at the time was Todd Haley.
Todd Haley, yeah. He said Cowboys too.
And then Ben Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. They had the news seemed to report that there was a little bit of a contentious relationship that they had. Mm-hmm. There were reports that in stuff that I've read that, again, fake news or not, said that at times they would even pull you down out of the press box to almost be a buffer between the two.
On the field? During the game?
Yeah. Well, that's what this one article I read said. True or not, you don't even have to answer that. I'm just saying this is what I read about it. And Brandon's talked about how you love people. How do you maintain relationships with people you are managing, coaching, teaching, and correcting?
Well, I think it starts with consistency. Yeah. I think it starts with truth.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think that all the players that played for me or coaches that worked with me would have said that you were consistently truthful, and that we worked hard.
Right.
But everyone works hard.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I like to think more about maybe we work smart.
Right.
And we found ways to handle our business in a timely fashion, and to be able to still have some kind of quality of life Monday through Friday in the evening, whether it's with your family after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I mean, it's not like we were getting home at 4:30,
right.
but we would get home.
Yeah.
And we were. I was proud of that. I was proud for the coaches to be able to do that, but it also gave them their time too. If I'm not tying them up in meetings, then they can prepare themselves for their next meeting. They're the ones that got to project to the player. They're the ones that are taking the information that we're all sitting around the staff table right now.
Right.
We've decided here's what we're doing in 3rd and 2 to 4, and now we've got to go sell that to our players. We've got to present it to them. We've got to show why.
Every position.
Everything.
Yeah.
And you coach wideouts, you coach tight ends, you're offensive line coach.
Right.
I mean, we all got to leave saying the same thing.
Pull it rowing in the same direction.
There's not
right?
enough time in a day for one person to stand up there.
Yeah.
And okay, let me talk about the quarterback play on this one play we're putting in this week.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that, how am I going to get to? There's not enough time. Wide receivers got rules and technique. Their coach is sitting there going, "Boy, man, I hurry up! I need time because practice is an hour and a half."
Right.
And if I take all their meeting time as a group, that's not very good. But to answer your question, yes, I was called down. 2, I was asked if I would be better served to be down, and the answer was yes.
Yeah.
And I was
to keep the temperament
between those two, and I knew that was part of my job. I mean, I was the quarterback coach, and I needed to make sure that was cohesive as best it could be.
Best it could be, yeah. Yeah. So then there was a little bit of truth to that. You needed to get down there, and that was smart thinking by, I guess, Tomlin or whoever was in the organization decided, like, hey, we need a buffer here to make this work.
You know what game it was? It was interesting because Juju Smith-Schuster actually pulled the all-timer. He had his bike stolen that week. And, Juju's just a young kid.
Are we talking about like pedal bike?
His pedal bike.
Okay.
He lived right down the street from the offices. Remember, he was not 21 when we drafted him.
Yeah, he was young.
And halfway through the season, he still couldn't go to a bar legally.
Oh, wow.
So now here's Juju, and comes from L.A. and, thrust into the spotlight, having a great season. Good rookie first year. We go to Detroit. I come out of the press box down to the sideline. Now, it just didn't have anything to do with Juju. It was just mindful of that game. That's how I remember.
Yeah.
That's when it first happened. And I'm down there, and next thing you know, I look back, and Juju's got his big lock and key, this big chain, like for your bike.
For bike.
And he's riding the bike. He had just scored an 80-yard touchdown or 90-yard touchdown.
And he's riding the bike.
And he's over there riding the bike with the chains like, I got my bike down. It was just funny because he had his real bike stolen that week, and it was headlines in the newspaper.
That's great.
It was just funny.
What was
That's
that? Yeah,
great.
what was that
That's
even
great.
about? Were they just arguing about play calling or something? I don't even remember this story at all.
They just could have just not gotten along well, right? They just could have had just different.
Or just ultra competitive.
Well, I can just, this isn't
right?
secrets. I mean, I work for Todd and I coach Ben.
Yeah.
The bottom line was that, certain times youmes not going to see eye to eye.
That's right.
I get that part.
Yeah,
I get
That's
that
in all
part.
business.
But it was more than that at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I
And
got
it
you.
was
Okay.
just
A little deeper than
personalities.
that.
and,
Personalities.
I mean,
Yeah.
Todd's a strong personality.
Yeah.
There's no question.
So has Ben.
Right.
So has Ben.
To a degree, right? It was competitive.
But
you were just telling me that he would be if he was here and this ping pong table had been cleared off, we'd been playing.
You had already been playing.
I want to play.
You would
ping
already
pong
be
with
down.
Ben.
It'd be
I'd
the
be
next
down.
man
I'd
up.
be down. Next guy.
man
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
Yeah,
he's
there's no-
super competitive, right?
I have tried to get him down here for the member guest twice. I owe him 2 member guests.
Gotcha.
He's taken me out, and we won a couple of them.
Where's he?
That's awesome. That's
I'm
awesome.
sure he's competitive.
That's
But I'm
awesome.
trying to get him down here.
That's awesome.
And it's just not.
Where's he at these days? I don't
Oh,
know.
he's doing podcasts.
He's doing his own podcast.
But is he? He's from Ohio, right?
Well, he is, but he lives in Pittsburgh, and his family's lived in Pittsburgh. He moved in there. She's from north of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so he's still
Great
staying in
young
Pittsburgh
family.
area then? a little
His
bit?
son, if you look him up, I just saw him the other day on
that's
PGA Tour. It was the ABC PGA Tour Junior. He's 11 years old, and he's probably one of the top
No
players.
way.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
he is.
That's great. That's great.
No concussions in golf.
We looked it up in Ben Ross. We were all together watching football, and so we were kind of just talking a little bit about the material we had all different found preparing for this particular pod. And we were talking about how Ben Roethlisberger was not the quarterback in high school till his senior year. And
I was
Wide
like Miami,
receiver.
Ohio.
I didn't know he
had
was
to
a wide receiver.
Yeah, the quarterbacks at the time at his high school, the head coach was, the quarterback, his dad
His
was
son.
the head
That's
coach.
right.
His son was the
Now,
QB.
now, what's funny is I found an interview because I went down this rabbit hole prepared. They found an interview of the dad, right, the head coach of that high school team.
Right.
And he said, I look like I can't remember the exact quote. He said, I look like America's biggest knucklehead for not playing
didn't
him. He
start
said,
then.
but he said, I'm really not. I stand by it. He said,
Right.
we did a lot of plays at the time, and it was always better, my son, throwing to Ben Roethlisberger than it was the other way around.
He was doing what he had to do
And
to
so I
win.
felt
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
was to win. And,
What's-
and I don't
yeah.
know that Ben ever felt it that way, or I never read an article. I couldn't find one that
Well, it's
Ben,
like you don't know you're going pro.
Yeah,
You
right.
know,
He didn't know. He was trying to make the
He's
best,
the biggest
still
dude
the
on the
best calls
field.
he
Throw him
could,
the
right?
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a giant.
He said, I know America feels like I'm the biggest knucklehead there is.
Well,
I didn't make Ben Roethlisberger my QB.
you guys remember a guy named Jim Everett?
Oh, yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Well,
Rams.
Purdue.
He's a Purdue guy.
He came to Purdue from New
Orleans.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a high school football golfer from New Mexico, but in football he's a defensive end.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Purdue signed him as a defensive end.
Really,
crazy.
defensive end.
No
Wow.
kidding.
Wow.
Now they had hopes that maybe he could play the quarterback position, but he was actually being recruited for other positions.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow. And then having played with him and knowing the talent level that's there, as a quarterback,
Sure.
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's a tough spot, right?
That's really cool.
That's the toughest spot on the field.
That's
a
crazy.
quarterback. You got to know where.
I hadn't heard that one.
You're-
Quarterback to defensive end is not common. No,
I
Usually receiver.
think
or
I
tight
actually.
end or
So I know a
something.
lot of quarterbacks have gone defensive end. I mean, part of it is
Or
the
like
hands
safety,
game. It's the
yeah.
hands game. So I've seen quarterbacks go to receivers and slot receivers. We see it in. You probably saw it in NFL a lot of Randall L. though he was quarterback
he was a
to
quarterback.
receiver.
Yeah,
way,
that's common. Or even a cornerback because you play both ways. You don't normally play a defensive end.
I knew a quarterback in high school.
Correct.
He went. He was our quarterback at high school at the first high school I went to before I transferred. Philip Juhan. Good shout out, Philip. But he went and played at Air Force Academy defensive end. Yeah, so that was. I think that's fairly. I mean, you're pretty athletic as a quarterback.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So
This
if you don't have the size. It's the size
It's
issue,
the
right?
He was always 6'5". I mean, I'm assuming you're looking
Yeah.
at a good 6'4" body,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, how do we use them? And when you're in high school, you're going to play your best players both ways.
That's right. Yeah,
Both ways.
Yeah, so you're going to get. Yeah, so if you've got talent, you might play defense end, especially in high school.
Yeah,
for
especially
sure.
in the
Champ Bailey
small
did a
school,
little bit of that at Georgia. Champ would do the DB, but then they had him receiver. He was switching on both.
Kid for Colorado.
I mean, you talk about. Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame.
Going to the Raiders.
I mean,
game
exciting
changer.
guy. Exciting guy.
We'd go out to Denver. He was a game changer, and all that little Heinz Ward, little chest bump stuff they would do before the game used to piss me. I mean, they're over there. You know how they do. I mean, that's my boy. That's my boy. And then Heinz was telling me all week how I'm going to take him out.
Yeah.
You're going to take him out?
Yeah, because he's guarding him. Yeah, Champ Bailey on Heinz Ward.
Hey, man,
This is probably.
he was a shutdown corner. Even in college, there were so many times I'd be in the stands and you felt the game was hopeless, and he would have an interception. I mean, he was a play maker.
Dude, Mark Rick would be like 1 or 2 plays away from national titles.
Right.
He had
He
so
did a
many
lot. Well,
players,
that was
dude.
Jim Donnan. Just to be clear, that was Jim Donnan.
That was
Those
he
guys
was
played
Jim
under
Donnan,
Jim
yeah.
Donnan.
But I mean, the recruiting was always
The recruiting
pretty
was always
solid.
good.
Georgia is.
Well, I mean, they feed footballs to guys
just
down there in
couldn't get it.
Georgia. South
Yeah.
Georgia guys just eat footballs. That's all they do. They eat footballs, pigskin, and then they hit people. That's
shout
just
out
what
to
they
the K-Row
do.
syrup makers.
So yeah, shout out South Georgia for making all them great football players. I mean, good grief.
was a lot of
That's
guys.
all they do down
Pittsburgh
there, boy.
came and got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
Well,
still getting
Philadelphia
them.
Eagles. It's the
Pittsburgh does
Philadelphia
get a lot of
Bulldogs
Georgia.
now.
I just told Brent, I said, if I was paying attention a couple of years ago, I would have known that Mike's daughter was going to probably pick Georgia because he started making trips down there.
Yeah,
and
an
he started
apartment.
taking wide out. He's got a house down there now.
Yeah.
But, no, between the wide out, the offensive linemen, all the different
The
players.
Eagles have been doing it
man.
lately.
Well, the Eagles, I
have got
call
a ton of
them the
now.
Philadelphia Bulldogs. I mean, the defense is like made up of.
It was the
Georgia
Patriots did it
players,
forever.
yeah.
Then it was
Yeah.
the Steelers. It's the
Yeah.
same kind of.
It's kind
Only
of
those
those
East
three
Coast
going,
guys
grabbing
Georgia
those guys, bringing
Yeah.
them up. Yeah, the Steelers had a ton of
The
Georgia
better
players there for a
coaches
while.
get Georgia players because they know they're coached to a certain level.
At this
I feel
level,
like.
at this point, I do think Kirby is
I'm
running a
assuming.
pro offense. I think if you're at Alabama, you're running some of a pro offense.
Yeah, pro offense would be-
If you're looking for players that are disciplined and ready to go, you
That could
probably
come
do
in
want to
and start
mine from
immediately.
those guys. Just because you get, I think you need in college. I think you want to recruit the 5 stars for sure. But just because you're a 5-star doesn't mean you're going to make it, right?
Most of them don't.
Right. So if you get 13 5-stars, you might get 3 of them are probably going to transfer out before they touch the field, right? And so if you could get 7 of them, then they have a shot. If they listen and following in the discipline, they have a shot to be a first-round draft pick.
Yep.
But so any of you 5-star players out there listening, do the right thing, man. Listen to your coaches, do the right thing, brush your teeth in the morning, get
Go
a
to
good
Florida
night's
State,
sleep,
Georgia.
Yeah, no, the University
Or
of
if
Georgia.
you're a
Bulldogs.
3-star, if you're a 3-star guy,
Hey,
you
after
wanna
this year,
never lose a game,
you might
go to
be
Indiana.
there. You never know. You might be there. You never know. So Brandon tells me he knows you through the Bible study,
Yes.
right? And he says, and then those of you that are listening or watching right now, and you're outside of your faith, let me explain. This doesn't necessarily mean that a bunch of guys are sitting around with like some the manacles or whatever they call them, like studying the Bible left and right and quoting scripture. Although I think that can be good. I read a statistic that said if you read your Bible more than 4 days a week, that like your happiness level can be improved. Something like
it's 100%.
Amen.
There's so much wisdom.
There's like
So
some
much
really
wisdom.
incredible. Like if you read it less than 4, it doesn't.
Does it say how long you have to read it for?
No. It's like literally. I just think even if you were to get a scripture a day, if you're going to do, but focusing in on those tenets of faith. So, but back to the Bible study though. Your Bible study. So just what I want to explain to you is what we're talking about is a kind of bunch of men getting together and building a relationship. This is usually of men trying to build a meaningful relationship and building relationships on a shared love of their faith and a shared love of their Creator.
Well said.
And here's the thing, guys. We do this typically really, really, really bad. And so the fact that guys are getting together and decided that we're wanting to love each other and share stories and share testimony and share what's going on in our
And lift
lives
each other up.
and lift each other up is really, really incredible thing. And I've said it before here, and I'll say it again now. I believe a relationship with Jesus makes you better at all your relationships.
Absolutely.
For
So
sure.
I think it's absolutely really, really important. And so saying all of that, what I want to ask you is, so faith is an interesting relationship as it relates to sports, right?
Yes.
Every Sunday, half the people on the field are praying for their team to win, and the other half are praying for the other team, their team to win. And I really don't think that Jesus gives a flip of who wins the game, but he certainly cares about the people involved in it. And so how do you feel like your faith maybe came out in when you were coaching? I mean, how did it play out? I mean, I know you see that because I've seen players that are super full of faith and things happen, but then you have players that, they're in the newspaper all the time.
That's right.
So how does that play out? How did it play out for you?
I mean, it played out, I guess for me, it would have been, I'd like to think that maybe that was why I didn't blow up at certain times, or maybe I didn't ride that emotional roller coaster because of faith, and I understood that, there's something bigger than football. I mean, in the end of all this.
Well, Taylor Swift said it, right? Taylor Swift said it. She said it best, right?
We're talking about something
you're going to
bigger
do something
football.
better than marrying the football guy, right? Yeah.
But I mean, I think you go in that regard. I mean, there was a lot of men in the National Football League that have faith and that actually take part in Bible studies weekly. Players have one. We had one as assistant coaches. Coach Tomlin sat in one every Friday morning with us, and so we would have guest speakers. We talk about Taylor Swift's, and
sure.
I still remember Justin Bieber spoke to our.
Oh, that's awesome!
Really?
That's cool. That's cool.
That's
awesome.
Go down the list from Reggie Jackson to.
Oh yeah,
we would have
great Reggie Jackson.
Greatest speakers, and they would all give their testimony, and they would all talk about what Christ meant to them, and maybe how they used it in along their journey.
What's interesting is I think sometimes people feel as though that when you have faith that like everything gets better, right? And it doesn't necessarily. That's not. And you were talking about the ebbs and flows, and I've said it before, right? The fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Well, that helps you to avoid some. Like if you can lean into that, you're gonna have ebbs and flows, right? The three stages of life are you're in a problem, coming out of a problem, or going into a problem, right? So,
well said.
So you've got to figure out like how do I balance that? And sometimes your faith allows you to do that. So it doesn't escape trials, it doesn't escape problems. You don't get over it. You get through it with faith, right?
That's good.
And I think I wished I was maybe where I am now. Then.
Yeah.
We'd
I wish
all
I
like
knew
to go
now.
back. We'd all like to go back.
Do-overs,
I mean,
yeah,
the
for
do-over,
sure.
The do-over putt, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Because I think I would have maybe touched one more person.
Very good.
Very
good.
At the end of the day, there's a bunch of relationships that were established through many years of either recruiting a guy or drafting a guy or developing a player, or sitting in a room with them, traveling with them. In college, you're talking to their parents. You know their parents. You know their high school coach. You know their mayor if you were in a recruiting battle.
Right.
I mean,
You know everyone then.
I know where the best donut store is. I know where everything is.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
Back then, it was kind of scary because I'd get like a 12-pack of donuts and take them over to the secretaries there at the football or whatever.
Right.
At the high school. That's cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to do
Oh,
that.
no.
No way.
Now
So you
give 'em
couldn't
a
do that.
Lambo, but you can't give them no donuts back in the
You
day.
can get a Lambo, you can't do no donuts.
No, I'm like, oh, man.
I know kids
I
are
feel like
driving
I broke that.
Lamborghinis.
But so you're paying cash. You're paying cash, throwing away a receipt, right?
I'm
you're
buying
like
12
covert
donuts.
Do you know how
stuff,
many
right?
quarters I had?
Ah.
Because that was the machine.
Payphone.
We didn't have
Payphone.
cell phones. And when you only could make one phone call a week to a recruit, shoot, don't tell me.
No
I
way.
had to
One
bring
phone
more
call
than
a week?
One phone call a week.
How would they even know back then?
Yeah, because you go from you get a batch of quarters.
That was where you do a bunch of
you had
quarters
to
from
be-
a payphone, right?
You go to an airport and
I sat in
I'll go to
LA.
this phone. I'll go to this phone.
I would sit in L.A. and it would be the darndest thing. I'd come back and I used to tell Jennifer, I'd say, I think I spent more time on a payphone up and down Highway 5 than I did actually recruiting guys, being in a home. I mean, because you're still calling.
Still
you
calling.
set
You're
up,
checking on them. You
didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
No.
Oh wow.
I would think the recruiting
So again, young
aspect
kids,
is
young
the
kids out
hardest.
there, we mean that he is stopping at the side of the road. There was usually some sort of gas station, and they would have off to the side phones,
A payphone.
and you would put quarters in it to cost them.
Yeah, because if I put
Yeah,
the
they don't
code
do
in,
that around
the
anymore.
university would give us a code, a calling card code.
Yeah.
Well, but that means
That's
it's
trackable.
Yeah.
That's a
But that
trackable number.
quarter.
Yeah.
That
Quarter ain't trackable.
Okay.
Yeah.
That quarter ain't trackable.
Yeah, I
That's
just
a
think
lot of work.
the recruiting
That's a lot
the
of
recruiting
work
in
to
college
make
is the hardest part.
It's got to be.
about this,
It's
though.
gotten a little bit better, I think. But yeah.
And I speak for all the recruiters back then.
Yeah.
They knew probably multiple 15 to 25 people's phone numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose phone number do you know now?
None of them.
No.
I don't even know
My
wife's
father and I
number.
had that same. Where did the place in your brain go back in the 70s, 80s, 90s when you remembered people's phone numbers?
The recall, the ability to recall.
Hundreds of numbers.
Well, you're dialing it nonstop. I mean, I think about.
Yeah,
when
I don't know
went
my
to-
kid's number.
When I went
Yeah,
to
if you
in
dial
high
And I
it
school-
pay
all
for
the
their
time.
cell phone.
Well, you remember you had a locker in high school and it had a locker number on it, so you had 3 digits to you left, right, you know, and there's just useless.
It's just brain memories,
you know,
yeah.
brain memory. If you do it all the time,
Exercises.
the repetitive nature
Yeah.
of it, you're going to get better at it. But yeah,
Remember
now
all those phone
that you
numbers?
don't even do that. I mean, I can remember that when I was teaching my kids, we had cell phone numbers and having to teach my kids who are like mom and dad's cell phone number. You know,
Yeah.
they needed to know that. Now, I guess you just give your kid a number and it's pre-programmed in there. I mean, if they lost their phone, do they tell
Yeah, if you
the
got
police officer,
yeah,
this is who to call my mom and dad? You know,
I got to make one call out of jail. I'll be like,
Yeah. Can I see my
I
phone?
know like 2
think about
numbers.
Can I have my phone?
mom.
I
I'm
know.
calling my
I
mom.
don't think I know anybody's.
I don't think
right now.
I know
I
my
know my
wife's.
mom's.
I don't know
my
her.
wife's.
I know my wife's, and I know.
I know my mom's and my old boss because he had a work phone and it's the same number.
Yeah,
For 20 years.
I know
That's
my
the only two I
wife's,
know.
and I don't even know my kids.
I don't know my kids.
They got theirs after that advent
Yep.
of where it's just programmed in. I know my wife's because it was probably right along that line.
Yeah, exactly.
That edge of not doing that one, but yeah, it's crazy.
If you didn't,
I told
I
you
know
we
my
know if I know
14,009.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So I want to talk a little bit about Mike Norvell because we kind of went over that. Juice, I want to throw him a little bit of love. We've talked extensively
Lost to
about my
Miami
beloved
last night,
Bulldogs, but
you know.
they you did you watch the
I
game?
did not watch
because you
it.
said you didn't
I
think you
said
were
I'm not
going to
watch it.
You didn't watch
My
it?
wife's a Yankees fan. We watched.
Okay, Super World
So-
Series.
Got caught, man.
World
Yeah,
Series.
so you watch it,
And
But
they lost
You,
it.
so you know Mike Norvell?
I
Or?
know Mike real
Yeah,
well.
so
Mike hired my son.
Talk me off the cliff. Talk me off the
Hide your
cliff.
son.
So when my son played college baseball, we talked earlier,
Okay.
probably off air, but
Yeah.
he played college baseball at Memphis.
okay.
And when he finished, he went on as a young coach for Mike Norvell
At Memphis.
At Memphis.
at Memphis.
Very cool.
So he made the transition.
Very cool.
He was always going to go into football.
Okay.
But he played football in high school, I'm guessing, at
he
least.
did,
Yeah,
But,
okay.
But you know, he veered to baseball
Yep.
quickly.
Yeah.
Quick.
Well, if you.
And
an
so
athlete.
he goes there, plays college baseball, great experience. Decides what he's going to do, graduates, and Norvell offers him a job.
Okay.
And so he's there with them. They go 12-1. That was the year they went down. That got him the Florida State job.
That did. That did.
So they go 12-0, and they lose to Penn State.
Yeah.
In the bowl game.
Bowl
in,
game,
in Texas. They were down in
Yeah. Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Cotton Bowl.
And so after the year, obviously Norvell goes to. Well, he went before the game because he.
Oh, he didn't even coach the game.
That's
he
right.
didn't coach
Yeah,
the
he didn't
game.
coach
So they would have won that game. Okay, gotcha.
Possibly.
They would have
Might
beat.
have
They would have
won
went
that
undefeated. Beat Penn
Maybe.
State. Yeah.
Maybe.
It makes sense.
Well,
Penn State was rolling.
You might have had some setouts too. I mean, that's a common thing
Yeah.
in bowl games that don't matter these
Not at
days. they
Memphis.
say.
Not at Memphis.
Not
But
at
Yeah.
They did have some.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, there's running backs you can go through.
Oh,
They
100%.
have
There's
a
some
bunch
elite-
of running backs in
It's
national football.
100%. 100%.
2000.
Yeah.
100%.
Now I'm going to
100%,
look.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've
That
got
was
3 or 4 that are still
2019?
playing now. Yeah.
Wow.
2019 at Memphis.
Well, maybe just Google Memphis NFL players that play college at University of Memphis.
Oh, that's crazy. What?
Well, it would just be. But all of his
say?
running backs.
Look at Memphis.
All of his running backs, they were really good. I mean,
Yeah.
well, you talk about Mike. So he used to be in our building in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He worked at the University of Pittsburgh for 6 months as the offensive coordinator for the coach. I can't remember his name. He left
University
in
of
the
Pittsburgh.
middle of the night
Wow.
after one season and took a job out at Arizona or Arizona State.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't remember his name. You can look that up. But so he was in our building. He ate in the same chow hall every day.
Norvell.
Because we share the same building.
Oh.
Pitt is here, and we're here.
Pittsburgh's right there.
Their door, our door.
Okay. Wow.
At the back end,
Yeah.
our 2 practice fields, their 2 practice fields.
Really? I didn't know
The
that.
indoor, we share.
I didn't realize
Really?
that. Wow.
UPMC built it for both teams.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
neither team, the Rooneys or I think even had to come up. I mean, UPMC
Come with money.
paid
That's
for it.
yeah. I mean, I assume they got advertising, off of it.
And they've got the rehab center there, and their concussion center there, and all that. But
that's pretty cool. So you got to know Mike Norvell. Then.
Yes, but even more importantly, he used to come up and visit us, and he would spend 2 and 3 days. And Silverfield, who's the head coach at Memphis now, those two would come up together. They'd spend 3 days with us, and they would sit in my meeting room with Ben, with Charlie Bat, with all of our quarterbacks, all the, at that time it would have been Mason Rudolph, Landry Jones, Mike Vick. We had a handful.
You had a load in that room.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, at various times throughout time we had.
Did Vic play at the Steelers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He beat San Diego for us.
That's right. I remember the Charlie patch.
Yeah. And what a player, right? I mean, what a player.
Best athlete I've ever been around.
Incredible.
Really? I mean, when he took Virginia Tech to the national championship.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. Let's talk about that game. Who'd they play? 1999.
Who did they play?
Florida State.
Yeah. Oh, did they play?
Was that when Florida State was good?
You guys won that national championship.
Is that when they were good?
Good. They went to like 6 national championship
games. They won
games.
that championship game. Who was a quarterback for them?
We had Chris Winkie. He was like 45 years old.
That's right. He was not 40.
He was 29.
He had played he
was 29.
I think he went and played baseball.
He played MLB.
Then he came back.
Yeah.
We had Quincy Carter that did that at Georgia. He was a Georgia Tech signee. He played baseball. When he came back, I guess
2002.
they released him, and he came back and played.
He went
Georgia,
to Dallas
and then
Cowboys.
He went to Dallas Cowboys. He had a very good, his first season or two, I thought were pretty good. For the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, they went to the playoffs. Also, the Panthers of all teams in the playoffs in like 2004, 3 maybe.
I was trying to look up Norvell. Was it Central Arkansas? Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Right here too. I got it. They had Patrick Taylor was a running back in 2019. They were 12-2. They did lose They did lose to.
But you're right. He did go to Arizona State. He went to Arizona State. You're right. He was the co-offensive coordinator too at Pittsburgh. Yeah.
So he was in the building with us, and I never really knew him. And then all of a sudden, the year later, and within 6 months, he's at Memphis. He's getting to be the head coach, and I'm thinking, who?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, he did
Kenneth
a
Gainwell.
phenomenal job.
At Memphis.
Memphis.
He did.
Yeah, no, he's a good dude.
And a guy who's been at Memphis twice, two different times.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that community and that town and that school. Mm-hmm. And he did some things that haven't been done. I mean, I'm just going to flat out say it. We tried. Now, we did some decent things, but nothing like
Y'all
this
put
guy
Memphis
did.
on the map. He certainly took it to another level.
Well, I like to think that we came along during that time that kind of made it a little more relevant. It was a little more okay.
Sure.
To maybe say I'm not. D'Angelo Williams made it okay to say no to Tennessee,
Right.
no to Arkansas,
Right.
no to Arkansas was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go to
Yeah,
Memphis.
I mean,
He's from Wynn, Arkansas.
Right.
That's a big.
Well, what people don't realize is where Memphis is in Tennessee. Tennessee's this long state.
Correct.
And it covers across like Alabama and touches into like Mississippi.
It's on the river.
And then Georgia, and then even goes into like South Carolina and North Carolina. So it's touching like 5 states. And you're in the corner. You're in the southwest corner of the state. So when you say Arkansas, I mean that's a 45-minute drive. I mean, it's not crazy.
Wynn, Arkansas was exactly about 45 minutes for him to come down into Memphis.
Right.
And it was about 5.5 hours for him to drive through mountainous terrain to get over to
Fayetteville. Yeah.
Ozarks, yeah.
Oh, so it was easier for him to get to you guys than it was. Yeah.
His mom shopped in Memphis.
Yeah.
That's where you go to a mall.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where. You think about what's important.
No, it is. You're
Where
just
do you
crossing
eat
the
your
street.
restaurant?
That's exactly right.
Have you ever had Ruth Chris?
Right.
Yeah, I have in Memphis.
Right.
Always.
Right.
It's a big
Been
city.
to Memphis. I mean,
That's right. No, but it's got to be a hard place to recruit just because you are attacked by all these
Ole
different
Miss,
states.
Tennessee,
Ole Miss,
Arkansas.
They beat Ole Miss the first week of that year. I'm looking at the schedule. They beat Ole Miss. Yeah.
We beat.
Beat Cincinnati back-to-back years or back-to-back.
So
beat Louisville in Papa John Stadium, the first loss in their stadium history.
And that's a pretty
D'Angelo Williams went up there and went wild.
So Todd Graham. Graham was a coach at Pittsburgh then.
Yes.
When he was there at the offensive coordinator.
Correct.
Todd Graham.
So the running back was
He
Kenneth
left in the
Gainwell.
middle of the night.
And then Norvell left in the middle of the night, or Graham left?
They all went.
They all left.
But
okay.
I literally didn't tell us all.
Yeah, it says he left. He said the next season he worked as offensive coordinator for Arizona State following Graham.
Yeah, but Graham just
gone. Bye. Wow.
It's a wild world out there. That industry. That industry.
Wild
is
West.
Just a wild. And it's in the entertainment industry. It is athletic.
It's entertainment.
But 100% entertainment.
Well, now it is time for
Oh,
Oh, Juice.
I hear it.
Where are you?
I hear it.
Waiting patiently for what you do. Google Guru, he'll make it right. In a flash, he'll solve the fight. Oh man, he's good at poker, that's right.
Yeah. So this is the time for the Delve cards. Again, parents, I've said this once, I've said this, I'll say it again. Delve cards, DELVE. When your kids are sitting at the table and you ask them how their day is at school and they go, well, it's fine, whatever, whatever, I don't know. Pull out these Delve cards. You can find them online, DELVE. They're conversational cards. Pull them out. Ask questions. We're going to do one here. This is for everybody here.
Okay.
So Randy, this is for everybody, but they have different levels in these, and you can get different cards. And so we've yet to have the same question twice. It feels like. So here we go. What is the question today from the Delve card deck?
What do you wish people would stop bragging about? Taylor Swift. What do you wish people would stop bragging about?
You looking at?
Stop bragging about it.
It's for everybody. It's a question for everybody.
I don't need to hear all about all your kids' like softball championships. I don't need to hear about it. I mean, just tell me they're playing softball and they have a good time. I don't care. I don't need to hear about all that stuff. Nobody cares about kids' championships.
Low competition.
Like when they win the under-7 soccer tournament, I don't care.
I got one, political ads. That's
all I'm seeing on YouTube, dude.
I want to watch a commercial for like floor cleaner.
Could you imagine if we were in Georgia?
Anything but a political.
Could you imagine if we were in Georgia right now?
We're not even a swing state.
No, we're getting the amendment ads.
We're getting
like vote yes or no on 3 and 4, and I'm like,
I'm done.
Even if I'm voting whatever way, I'm like, I don't want to see it no more.
I want to see another one.
If there could be a law, if there could be a law that says you can only put it on TV so often,
yeah. None of this is bragging, guys. Coach,
I would say anything you did that's yesterday.
Yesterday.
I mean,
I like
so
it.
good.
I like it.
What are you talk about?
Yeah, it's over. It's what's happening right now.
It's now.
I mean, what's next?
I'm all in the moment.
Right. I love that is in the moment,
man.
That is good. That is so good. That is so good. Well, Coach.
Northern
I love them Purdue guys.
There's a low and high. Well, Coach Randy Fichtner, it has absolutely been a pleasure to have you on here.
A lot of fun.
We're going to have you back. It's been such a great time, man, just hearing all these stories, but also the life lessons. And it's easy to see how much you do care about people and how much you cared. And I think that's why you had such an incredible career around a game that you seem to love so much and that we all love so much. So honestly, we want to all just thank you for being a part of that history of the sport that we get so much pleasure from on Saturdays and Sundays. So thank you for being
that was a question I didn't get to ask him because you're from the Pittsburgh area and you coach there. How?
It was.
I mean, was that
because I was a Browns fan?
You like the Browns?
I didn't know that.
I didn't see that coming.
I played for him. I grew up.
That's
true.
I had the Browns jerseys. I was born in the same hospital the same day. If I'm not mistaken, they even said maybe the same room.
Wow.
That was Jim Brown's oldest son.
In Meadville, Pennsylvania.
No, it was in Cleveland.
Oh, you were born in Cleveland.
So Jim Brown was there when you were born.
Well, he was born in the same
hospital,
room. He was born in the same room.
They were there.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Okay,
you are a Brown. And then you became a Steeler.
Well, no, he's a Steeler. He's a Steeler.
Well, I am a Steeler for sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I root for all the other success of all the players that went through there that we coached. And obviously Mike Tomlin, the Rooney family.
Yeah.
There is 2 coaches still on the staff. Yeah. Their special teams coordinator and their strength conditioning coordinator, still buddies of mine.
That's great.
That we all went in together. Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator.
That's right.
Former
Falcons
Smith,
guy.
I recruited all of his sons. We recruited Arthur too.
Yeah.
So I've known Fred Smith, his daddy, for a long time.
Wow.
And that just goes back to the love of Memphis and just being in Memphis all those years.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for honestly being a great steward of this sport because, it's people like you that are inside the sport that are continuing to try to mold these guys into being the best they can be, but not just best players. They can be really good human beings outside of that. People like the Heinz Wards, the Ben Roethlisbergers, the people that continue to mature and grow up. And so I appreciate that, and thank you so much. We want to say thank you, but now is the section that we say, listen up, kids. Listen up, kids. Every day you need to be grinding and hustling. You need to be focused and pressing forward. That is if you want to achieve higher goals and heights. But don't forget that life is a journey. Don't forget to take a brief kind of helicopter ride and hover above your life. Assess the good, the bad, and the ugly. Take inventory of what needs to change. what you should just rip out and get rid of. And then, of course, you should applaud and take pride in the things you should and take pride in and love. Matthew, this guy Matthew, over 2,000 years ago, he had a quote that he quoted. He wrote down in this book, and he quoted a guy named Jesus. And you find it in this book that he calls Matthew, right? And in the collection of books we call the Bible. In chapter 5, about halfway down, starting about verse 14, ending in 16, he said, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father." So really, while you're going through this life, it ain't about you, it's about him. But you know what? Hey, what the hell do I know?
You've been listening to What the Hell Do I Know with JB. JB has worn quite a few hats. CEO, venture investor, accidental pastor of a downtown Atlanta church, board member, passive investor, and occasional public speaker. JB's passion with his show is sharing the good, the bad, and the downright absurd. Life's a mixture, right? JB has picked up some real gems along this journey. Lessons from the business world, the chaos of parenting, and the surprises of accidental leadership. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find Jason on Instagram at _Jason_Becker. Y'all be cool, and we'll see you next time.